Welcome to Apologia Live, where a former Christian takes a look at the claims of Christians live here from Apologia Studios in Nova Scotia, Canada, where it has snowed 2.5 beagles worth in the last day, which is a lot. And I'm tired from shoveling and so excited to be here with you guys. We're not only on Apologia Live, though. We are also on...
Hi, welcome to my channel. Vice Rhino here. Paul over there. Suris is showing up soon, I guess. You guys have all your snow. We're supposed to get up to 9 degrees tomorrow.
I don't want to hear about that.
So yeah, it's gonna be nice and sunny. And I tried to convince the kids that no, you can't put your winter stuff away yet because we usually get hit in February, and then this week is gonna make it hard for me to stand by that. At 9 degrees is like 40, I think.
Yeah. No, it's probably 45-ish.
45, yeah.
Yep.
And
we also we have
I was saying how long I could just hold this right here.
No, you
let me just do that edgy thing for a while. Hi, I'm Suris. I do atheist and political content over on my main channel and Magic the Gathering content on my second channel.
Oh, this is Paul, you're making me look bad. I've got someone in my chat saying we've never been so on time.
Well, I've had some pretty bad delays on my live channel of late, so I'm this is a fluke for me. Now here's the thing. So we are on 5 channels or something right now. I'm not sure what's happening. So what I'd like to hear I'm seeing in the chat different places. Okay, good. So we're getting the chat from
Oh, you're seeing the chat.
Oh, can you invite?
Oh, there we go. I see it in the comment section. That is a lot of people.
Yeah, so this is great. So on our side, we are seeing all of your comments from all of the places. We will interact with them as we see fit. But we are here tonight because I have a strange obsession. We were talking earlier about strange obsessions. And these two gentlemen, to some extent, have joined me in this. A strange obsession with Eric Hovind. All 3 of us have covered Eric in the past. Eric, now, his whole Creation Today ministry has morphed into basically a weekly Zoom call that he shares, half of it with social media and half of it is secret and private to only the people who pay him to be on air.
I don't know what I'm going to do with that sex ed episode. I have it, and I really want to do something with it because it is awful.
You absolutely should cover that. Yeah. Although it's the nice thing about Creation Today content for me has always been that it's relatively evergreen. Like it's not like this is a hot take on mammoths now that we just really got to get out there. And this week is on mammoths, which makes you think of that. But a few weeks back, Eric decided that he was going to have his stream was going to be dedicated to how to do Christian apologetics on Twitter. Now, immediately my mind went to my favorite Twitter-related counter-apologetics show online is Twit Tweets, starring Vice and Suris.
Hello.
And so I specifically wanted to cover this piece of let's just take a look at what Eric Hovind thinks that good advice for Twitter is with the 3 of us.
Oh, it hurts. It hurts, Paul.
The thing that sucks is that we've covered Wendell before, and there is never a point in time where he's not been worthy of bludgeoning our noggins.
Yeah, like I mentioned this to you backstage, but I actually stopped pulling Wendell tweets because I was starting to become convinced that he was an atheist pretending to be a Christian, just trying to make Christianity look bad. And now here he is on Eric's show. So I might have to start covering Wendell again.
So we're going to have the mainstays now of Kevin Sorbo, Wendell. we have a few rotating cast of League villains that are always there. I guess Wendell gets to come back again. Aren't you so excited about that for Wednesday's Feist?
Super excited, yeah.
This is cool. I'm just excited. The experiment is working, and I'm seeing different chats for different people I can bring them all. I can bring them all to the forefront. That's cool. So if anyone in the chat,
Power
if you
of
guys have
5
anything
chats
fun
at
to say,
once.
5 chats at once.
I've got Fennec in my Twitch chat asking why my background is eating my headphones. I chose this background for a very specific reason.
You will find out in just a minute.
I purposely did not smooth out the back so that it's going to look really wonky.
My god. Stoff in my chat just said, so who's designing Anime Girl Apologia? Because now that he's here, you know what's going to happen.
Paul is now in channel lore.
Because it happened to you.
So I'm part of canon now. Is this what's happening?
There will be porn of us having a threesome now.
Yes.
Rule 34.
Backstory. Backstory for that.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's. That's not the worst thing that's going to happen tonight. I guarantee.
So the backstory for that, Paul, is over on my channel. I made an unconscious decision over time. The whole reason that my avatar changed looks is because people kept gender bending me in fan art. So eventually, when I went to Facecam, people were like, "We missed the avatar videos." So then I brought the VTuber avatar in based on the channel fan art. So I was like, "Yeah, you're getting avatar videos back, but they're not going to be the edited ones that I used to do." And then over time, I just decided that everything that is put into fan art is official channel canon. Because I kept making decisions based on what people were putting into fan art anyway. So now it's canon to my channel lore that Vice Rhino can gender bend into an anime woman with a giant rhino horn in more ways than one. And there is no less than 4 or 5 pieces of pornography of us now.
Oh boy!
At least.
Well, that's going to be a departure for my channel.
They're very good. Suris has some very talented artists in his audience, and they put their talents to very bent use.
Yeah,
I look forward to tasteful artistic interpretations that will hopefully be flattering in some way or another.
In at least some way, we hope.
They always are. I look much better in the drawings than I do in reality.
All right. Well, let's at least get started on this little thing, and we can find ourselves what we're getting into.
Hey guys, welcome to the Creation Today show. If you are new to the show, my name is Eric Hovind. I'm your host. My guest today
can I just say,
has been
that sounded like he had an AI do that for him. Like just his intonation and the look on his face. I don't think it actually was. If
he hadn't have moved his hands, you could have convinced me.
When I opened this video up first, that was my first thought. It was like, did Eric like AI himself as like the next level of laziness?
He's just sitting there typing the script away, going, "Robo Eric will take care of all of it." All of it.
I can confirm that they are not the most tech savvy ministry out there. So I'm not expecting them to be the first to crack that code.
But their production value is so good. Look, he's got a blurred background and everything.
No, Eric's set. I am actually a little bit jealous of Eric's set. I do like it.
I learned, I think it's last week, that it's actually the gazebo in their yard he took over and has been filming there. So then that's must be nice about living in Florida, is you can just stream outside.
I couldn't get away with that.
No.
Yeah.
I also want to say, just to be fair, so this was a 75-minute stream that we were responding to, and I did cut it down to less than half of that. So some of the wonky edits are Eric's, but some of them may be from me removing material as well. So I'm not going to blame. So I'm going to take on some blame if there's some fun.
You're the assistant editor, Paul. It's fine.
I'm the assistant editor. But though, frankly, Eric has offered to hire me as an editor in the past. So, you know.
Do it.
No, not willing to take that money. All right, guys.
Apologetics on Twitter for several years. It's Pastor Wendell Phelps. He is a pastor he's the pastor of Providence Baptist Church in Kentucky.
That was Eric. That wasn't me.
The pastor
Okay,
in, pastor
I gotta
of.
know why you jumped onto Twitter. How long have you been doing? Give me some background on how this turned into really I don't know if it's a mission for you or if it's just a mission field for you, but give me some background on what you got you started. And I
If
can't
what
wait to
Wendell does
share
on Twitter
some of
counts as a mission, then I should be a 501c3.
Yeah,
Like,
mm,
I think I do a better job at educating people on Twitter than anything Wendell does.
and you specifically take time away from Twitter because Twitter is toxic.
Yeah, like no, I do my fair share of just like shit posting and trolling, but like Wendell's just off the charts.
Yeah.
I do wonder if I was a member of Wendell's congregation that I would be happy in any way to find out that he's spending, so even if it's just 10 hours a week or whatever he's doing, just trolling people on Twitter. Like how
You can bet he does that on paid time. He'll be sitting in his
Yeah, of
office
course
in
he
church
does.
tweeting out.
Yeah. So
I don't want to say what he does is trolling because a troll, generally speaking, is doing it for the laughs. For him, I think he legitimately thinks he's doing some good in the world as an idiot, but still. Wendell looks like he ate 3 Eric Hovinds.
I
He
didn't
kinda-
mean to click on that one because the chat's going super fast for me, but that was a good one. I liked it.
That's because you're looking at 5 of them, though.
Yeah, that's true.
of what you post.
Yeah, it's more of a mission field. I look at Twitter that way. I started on Twitter way back in 2014. I wasn't.
All right, so now we have to start out with my biggest complaint about this whole video, and I think we can see it. We can see it well here.
We can see it to hit to our left, his right.
So what we can see there is clearly. Oh, how do I get? There we go. He's clearly has a real green screen behind him.
Yeah.
You can see it in the curvature of his headphones there. He's got a real green screen behind him. And yet he's chosen on this Zoom call because Eric does all his stuff via Zoom. He chose the auto background on Zoom, but not the green screen background on Zoom. So throughout this whole video,
So
his
he looks
body's
like
going in and out.
He's had the technology this whole time.
So
I wonder, he's got the lighting though too, because you can see a ring light in his glasses, right? So
true.
So it's not even a lighting issue that he's running into. It's just a series of poor decisions.
It makes me sad to see how successful this guy is. Because like on when I was going through his Twitter account in preparation for this, because I have a couple of his tweets that I'm sure we're going to read out at some point when Eric is talking about how awesome he is at what he does. But while I was looking for those, there was one where he was like praising Jesus for the fact that he could now afford he's got like the Rodecaster Pro thing, which is like an $800 soundboard. And it's like, oh, the fact that you can afford that doing what you do is just so depressing.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think this is a case of him actually understanding how to use his equipment. It's just a case of he's got lots of money and likes to have the toys, which I can't fault him for that because I fucking have a Zoom PodTrack P8, which is a $400 board plugged into a Go XLR, which is like another $400 board. And that's not how you're supposed to use them, but that's the way that I found that works best for my setup. And so like, I can't really fault him for that, but at the same time, like I
want to just go to his setup.
I just
want to go to his setup and just hand him my Focusrite and just be like, here, this is literally all you need. You do not need more than this for the production quality you're obviously striving for.
I had really bad luck with the Focusrites. I had 2 of them crap out on me when I used them.
I've never had issues with mine before, and I've been using it for about a year straight.
So the worst though was the first one that crapped out. It did so in a very slow. So like everything still worked, but there'd be occasional like clicks in my audio, and it was like getting to a point where like I was like gaslighting myself into thinking like maybe this isn't actually there. Maybe this is just my imagination because like nobody is complaining about it on my videos, and I seem to be the only one that can hear it. And it was just, but then eventually it just like one day it got really, really bad, and it's like, oh no, it's actually my Focusrite.
Jeez, that might actually explain a problem we had with my friend Nick's stuff as well. His audio would crap out every now and again. He's got a decent, I think he's got a Shure SMB mic, and the mic isn't the problem because we've tested it in various other capacities. Ow.
Doing apologetics at the time. I was more of a consumer than a content producer back then. And then as I was consuming content over the years, I was going back and forth between, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, just looking at all these awful takes on Christianity.
No jokes in the chat about consuming things.
And what started to blow my mind is
Or
how
blowing.
these very bad arguments against Christianity was actually being taken serious by a lot of the younger generation today. So I set out trying to correct some of that, to let them know that these arguments they're seeing on social media are false. These memes don't have any truth to them. And here's the real story.
So he's
really cool. So
he set out to give us good arguments for Christianity, such as, dear atheists, you want the truth? Your worldview can't handle objective truth.
Just, and I have never, in any of the times that we have covered Wendell on tweets, I have never been impressed with anything I've seen there. I've never been impressed with anything that I've seen on his actual Twitter page. And I've kind of just considered most everything he does makes him look like a fool. But, I guess that I can't expect much from people who think the Earth is 6,000 years old.
So anyone who wants to follow along, it's Wendell Talks, right? That's
Yeah, Wendell Talks. WENDELLTALKS.
all right.
when did you start really kind of taking off and say, I'm going to move from consumer to content creator? Like what year, when did that kind of happen?
All right. So I started producing some content. It was more just basic ministry content, I would say, right before Elon Musk took over, about a year or two before. And things went well.
Is it a year or two before or right before? Because those are very different things.
Exactly.
I began to grow a following. And then I had my account shadow banned. And things became really...
No.
I have never once believed someone who said that their account was shadow banned.
You know how many people how many tweets I used to see just coming in my normal timeline being like, I don't think anybody can see this. Please interact with it if you can.
Mm-hmm.
And then people interact with it just fine.
Yeah. And I always see them.
So yeah, the fact that it's not pushing you out to people who don't follow you doesn't mean you're shadow banned.
Now I can see why just the randomness of social media can make you think that you might have been shadow banned, because there was a time in my Twitter thing where it's I posted some stuff that I typically the kind of stuff that I forget what it was, this is years ago, but typically that kind of stuff would get more engagement than it was. So I did do one of those hey, just are you seeing this? And everybody was like, yeah. I'm like, okay, I guess just nobody liked that stuff.
Right.
Okay.
The check I would always do is I have multiple accounts. I always called my Twitter accounts, I used to when I was on there more, my Horcruxes. I had for the different jobs that I've had in my life and also just different YouTube channels, whatever. Each one had a Twitter account, so I could actually swap to the other one and and look and see. And it's no, it can tell. Anyway, shadow banned isn't a real thing.
I'm having a little bit of fun just scrolling through his Twitter because it's more entertaining than it should be. Why does he have a tweet that just says, "Just say no to lab-grown meat"?
Yeah, I saw that one too. I don't know
why.
But what is the problem with that?
What's the? I wonder what his actual objection is to using science to grow meat in a way that doesn't require us to kill animals. I wonder what the contention is with that.
Yes, February 3rd.
February 3rd.
February 3rd. So he posts so much that might be.
That's not too far down.
Oh, there you go. There you go. Just say no to lab-grown meat.
Yeah, and it's just somebody saying that lab-grown meat has a really cool promise as innovative technology. It does.
Once they figure out the scaling, it's amazing.
Like
I know vegans that are like, yeah, I'd eat lab grown meat.
Can you even for people who are like even like hardcore strict carnivore diets, because like I'm on a usual omnivore diet, I don't have a problem with meat, but can you imagine the different flavor profiles you could have for meat if you are synthesizing it in the lab? Just you could get so creative with how
that's a
that
good
food
point.
would
I
come
hadn't thought
out.
about that.
Yeah, just make it taste like Wagyu right off the bat.
Like you don't even have to go with just I just want it to taste like a regular steak or regular burger. No, this we can get if we are just creating it from the ground up, synthesizing it from the ground up. We don't have the limitations that we normally would with trying to grow livestock. We also can make sure that the meat is more nutrient dense as well. Like we can do so much to make meat that's actually better nutritionally and taste wise to the meat that we are used to now. But Wendell's just like, no, just say no to it.
It's an abomination.
Apparently,
didn't
Wendell,
like it.
in the last 8 hours, Wendell has retweeted me. So that's fun.
Yep.
The clouds. Yes, I saw that.
Yeah.
I mean, like, you know what? I feel like if you were to map out the position and orientation data for all of the water droplets and ice crystals and stuff in a cloud, that would contain a similar amount of complexity as DNA.
The key to this one, of course, was I was annoyed by the word. I'm annoyed by the word accident, and
Yeah.
most of the Christians who've been interacting with my tweet have missed the whole point.
Yeah.
That the word accident is crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Accident
Part
implies
two.
there was an intention
Oops.
that was misfired, and that's
Really
not what's
difficult.
going on with most of this stuff.
Exactly. All right.
To produce content on Twitter because I was being throttled down so much. And so right when I was about to give up, everything changed. Call it the providence of God. It could have been. Elon Musk comes in. There's this $40 billion deal to buy Twitter. And since
I
that
don't
point,
think Elon
over the
Musk
last-
considers that to be the providence of God at this point.
Also, it's not providence of God if Elon Musk literally just implemented a way for you to pay money to have your tweets get seen by more people. If there's any type of artificial reach possible, there's that. Also, looking at Wendell's Twitter, most of the engagement on his stuff for unless it's a super controversial take, like the stuff he said about the Supreme Court recently, he tends to get anywhere between 12 and 30 responses on most of his stuff, maybe a little more. That's not a whole lot for somebody with his size. He's got a 26,000
31,000.
Oh,
33,000
followers. So I have some friends who tried Twitter Blue for a little while and then hopped off of it when it wasn't as worth it as it was for them. And they went from getting maybe like 10 and 20 views on stuff to 1 and 2 views. So that should tell you an idea of the artificial inflation of the scale that you get when you're using something like Twitter Blue. So he's getting low numbers for his follower count, even with Twitter Blue. It's confusing.
That's true. I have roughly the same subscriber. I have slightly more followers.
Mm-hmm.
I do not have a blue check mark. And I have, I'm still getting like 16,000 views, 25,000 views. I don't know if these are good or bad numbers, but they're better than Wendell's.
And you're getting
10,000.
getting them on tweets that you are making organically that are not responses to other tweets.
Right.
So you're not getting that staircase effect of engagement where one tweet goes viral and then you quote the tweet and then you get to piggyback off the virality. You're not doing that. If you look through most of Wendell's Twitter, it is almost all like a good 60 to 70% of it is repost of other people's stuff or responses to other people's stuff. He's piggybacking off of that. There's no if providence of God is happening here, it's not handing him a good hand. It's not giving him a fair shake right now.
Also, just imagine, like, there's so much wrong with the world. So many people are praying for like food or to not be abused anymore. And Wendell
gets Twitter engagement.
God prioritized my Twitter engagement.
Yep.
Yes, right.
Really took off. I've more than doubled my growth, and things have gotten pretty interesting.
I mean, I'm looking on, and I'm going to share screen real quick of your Twitter page. You got 33,000 followers on Twitter, man.
That's where I got
Look at
33,000
this. I mean,
from.
33,000 followers. Does that like surprise you? Does it amaze you how much reach you can have?
It absolutely does for a small rural pasture. It's pretty interesting.
So that's
the
more people
rural
than
pasture.
the ruralness of where he is located doesn't matter. You're on
It's
the
the
internet.
internet. It's the internet,
Yeah.
my dude.
Well, he's
I'm
not like
out
one
in
of
the
those big
woods.
city pastors who, throws up his Twitter thing during the sermon. He can get.
Yeah, so he
Oh,
can get all.
you mean like that
three
guy that
extra
was speaking in
people.
tongues and checking his phone at the same time?
Yeah, like that.
Hash retweet hash.
No. It was apparently I
in
can't
your
do that.
church every Sunday.
Oh, by far. When Twitter learned who I was, perhaps my account got reported too much. Things really took a turn for the worse. Somebody asked here in the question, what is a shadow ban? A shadow ban is basically when they hide your account. So when you post content online, the provider you're going through, whether it be Facebook, Twitter, what have you, they're throttling you down. That way your content gets seen by less and less people. So that's what happened leading up.
That is a real thing that has happened occasionally, but it doesn't
Right.
happen anywhere near as much as people on the right seem to think it does.
It also doesn't happen for the reasons they think it does.
No.
So when somebody's reach is getting throttled down, 9 times out of 10, it's because an algorithm that is the backbone of most social media that we use nowadays, an algorithm has determined that there is a low amount of engagement on something that they do. And because there's a low amount of engagement, it shows it to fewer people unless enough posts that they show give an abnormal amount of engagement that's higher than what they're used to. And then it'll start pumping them back into the algorithm again. We on YouTube are used to dealing with that same thing, where if we suddenly stop posting as often or we don't post at the same time every day, the algorithm will stop throwing us to people because it will throw us to people at times they're not used to seeing us, and that creates a backfire effect on our channels. The same thing happens on Twitter and Facebook. You make a few posts that don't have as much engagement, suddenly you're not going to get as much engagement on future posts because the algorithm isn't putting you in front of as many faces.
Mm-hmm.
And the algorithm, the algorithm is really just means audience, what the audience wants.
Yeah.
Like it's not I strongly believe that the algorithms, again, based on my Horcrux accounts of various platforms, it knows what it thinks I want to see. Like I get very much sports stuff on my personal one, where I get no sports stuff on my other one, right? Like it's just it tracks your behavior, it knows what you want. This is the kind of thing you like, and that's what you see.
I made the mistake on Threads of, like, as soon as I signed up for it, some of the first accounts that I saw were it was like feminist activist accounts who were like posting their story of like this thing that happened to them that explains why feminism is important. And I was like, oh yeah, that's a good person to follow or whatever. And now, like, every time I log on to Threads, if like the For You page, like not the people I'm following, but like the algorithmically generated one, 100% depressing how horrible the world is for women. And it's
like, because you fed it a particular input, and so it's spitting.
Like, I had sympathy, and I'm like, oh no.
That's always a mistake.
So
having sympathy?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sympathy is a mistake.
Someone's gonna clip that out, and now
I wasn't aware that Paul was going on his villain arc today.
I am tweeting
here
now
for it.
Interesting. Twitter. It got to the point near the end there where I was ready to give up because my content went from thousands and thousands of impressions dropping down to a few hundred.
And they don't tell you that they're doing this. They just do it on their own. They just, like, in the background, this is a conservative guy. The computer algorithms that they put in say he's conservative, therefore back his throttle back.
That's not what happened.
That's not even remotely close to how it works.
If that was what happened, then people like Matt Walsh would have absolutely no reach and would have had no reach on old Twitter as well.
If I recall, when they did that Twitter Files thing, wasn't it more likely that people on the left were getting shadow banned because people on the right get engagement?
Yes, and the reason that happens more often than not is because a lot of times when you look at a post that's a leftist post, if it's not a direct engagement with a post on the right, it tends to be, hey, we need to be supporting a soup kitchen, or hey, here's this thing that you should probably be aware of. Hey, we should talk about hostile architecture. And these are, informative posts, but a lot of times when you look at especially the modern day right-wing Christian fundamentalist side of Twitter, they are posting something solely for the purpose of rage baiting other people, which feeds into the engagement. Again, look at Wendell's account and look at the posts he has that have the highest engagement. They are the ones that are literally formulated to be the most controversial. If he just makes a post saying Christ is king, remember that, just like something little as that, he gets about 13 or 14 responses and a couple of likes. He says something about the Supreme Court, he gets 400 responses. Like, the side that is more likely to post inflammatory content is the side that is more likely to feed an algorithm that benefits engagement, positive or negative. It sees no difference between the two, and negative engagement tends to last longer.
Show his threads to, is that right?
Yeah, absolutely. I was by far not the only person this happened to, obviously. I'm a small fish in the pond of Twitter, but it become very hard for conservatives in general, especially conservative Christians, to communicate on the platform because we were getting suspended. We were getting our accounts punished.
Why were y'all getting
It's
suspended?
probably because you're breaking the terms of service.
Yeah. You agreed to a set of rules and you broke them. What do you think happens?
This reminds me a little bit of what just on my ongoing research on early Christianity. I do try and read any articles I can about like persecution of Christians, and just so much as it comes out, all the like in the first 100 years or a couple 100 years, every time they're being persecuted, it's for disturbing the peace. It's always for disturbing the peace. It's not for having bad theology. So yeah, so you're barging in, you're doing some shady stuff, and they're like, yeah, you got to go to jail for a little while. Anyway,
Well,
same thing with Christians.
Along those lines, one of the Wendell tweets that I pulled is he retweeted End Wokeness, who announced that the guy who decapitated the Baphomet statue at the Iowa State Capitol is being charged with hate crimes. So he retweeted that and said, so they claim it's a hate crime to destroy religious imagery. How come when crosses are destroyed and Bibles are burned, it's called free speech? The double standards are Christians face is ridiculous in America. The persecution of Christians in America is rapidly increasing. So he doesn't understand the difference between destroying someone else's property that was legally being displayed on public grounds and like me burning a Bible that I own.
Right.
Yeah.
Like one of those is a crime that has an aggravating factor, which is hate crime.
One of them is just a statement of protest.
Yeah.
Though,
like I fully support that guy who beheaded the Baphomet statue. If he buys his own Baphomet statue and then beheads it, that's fine. He can do that.
Yeah.
I fully agree.
Nobody cares at that point.
It's the fact that he did it to someone else's property that makes it a crime. I can't come and take Wendell's Bible and burn it. I can't burn his cross in his house, but I can do that to my stuff.
I will say I don't love in general the addition of the hate part of it on some of that. Vandalism is vandalism. It's already illegal. But you guys have probably discussed that before, and I'm not an expert, but it's not something I love.
Well, I mean, so in his case, he actually this was not a spur of the moment. I walked into the Capitol building, saw it, got mad, and tore it apart. This was, he heard about it. He drove, I think it was 2 hours to the state capitol specifically to go and see it, fully planning on doing something like that. So like this was a premeditated, I hate this religion event. Like, so I actually do think that hate crime is applicable here. And for the record, I just want to say, like, like when I mentioned burning crosses earlier, I do recognize that has very problematic things.
Yeah,
I'm not suggesting
I wasn't going to comment on that.
Burn a cross anywhere, but like, yeah, no,
I know I'm okay with the distinction in several cases. It's the same reason like we have a distinction between murder and killing and crime of passion. They can both be premeditated to an extent, but the punishment that we divvy out is going to be based on, in an ideal world, the chance of it happening again.
This would apply here too. If he murdered someone because they are a Satanist, then it gets added on as a hate crime.
Yeah, because now there's extra context. It's just like
he committed a crime, and it was because of his hateful bigotry. So legally speaking, that falls under the definition of a hate crime.
I guess I'm going to need to, educate myself further on the benefits and the subtleties of
I'm
crimes
not
versus hate crimes.
So I am not necessarily saying that prosecuting it as a hate crime is the best strategy.
Mm.
I'm merely saying that it does apply.
Oh yeah, no, I'm with you that it applies. The necessity of the nuance is just something I think I probably need to look into more.
We in a lot of law, it will actually be listed as a bias incident specifically, and that's a broader category where you'll be able to find a lot more stuff on it that way.
Cool.
Very often, I was suspended from Twitter 2 or 3 times for like 72 hours, one for like a full week on some very, very basic tweets about the faith.
Wow.
I bet that's wrong.
I would like to see what tweets he was suspended for.
Right? Yeah. I'm
All right, when you do, I want to go through a couple of your tweets here, and I want to ask you what you're thinking.
Oh
when you
no,
do
we're
this.
gonna
All
actually
right,
go
so
through some of
I got
them.
one here.
Yeah. This is what I wanted to get to. This is Eric is getting advice from Wendell.
This is tweets where Eric does the work for us. Oh,
Yes.
this is perfect.
Let's make that bigger.
Show a picture of a sandcastle, and you say, "Hey, atheists, look what blind random processes produced." All right, Wendell, spill the beans. What are you thinking here, buddy?
Okay, so obviously this is kind of an in-your-face type illustration of what the argument truly is for a materialist or an evolutionist, right?
I love jerky.
They believe
No, it's not. So this is this is exactly what he was accusing people of doing. Like the reason he started posting content was because people were doing bad arguments. It's like, no, that's a bad argument. That is not like
he's trying to compare what our bodies do with DNA and a set of rocks. We know that DNA is a thing that is going to try to create more of itself. Our DNA makes humans, and then humans try to procreate and make more humans. Rocks don't have a prerogative. These are not applicable things. They don't work together. They're not compare. You can't compare these things very easily. They're not even analogous.
I think what he's going to get to, though, and we'll see it in a minute when Paul presses play again, but is that it's that the blind processes produced humans, and then humans produced the sandcastle. So technically speaking, blind processes produced the sandcastle.
Oh, is that where he goes? Oh,
I think that is the interpretation that he's kind of getting.
Okay, well,
at.
let's see what he says.
Let's find out.
That everything that was created was through naturalism, right? Was naturalistic processes. So in the very end, if you wanted to follow the chain all the way from their beginning to where we're at now, essentially a human being who built this was just a part of that chain of natural processes that was just blind and random. So this is the result of that. Now, of course, when we all see this,
I don't even disagree with that, though.
It's not an
it's
argument that works in his favor.
But it's not like as soon as you have a sapient or sentient being in the mix. Now, this could get to the free will debate if we really wanted to, but as soon as you have someone with intentionality in the mix, then it's no longer a blind process. Like if I am intending to build a sandcastle, that's not a blind process. Now, sure, blind processes may have been what resulted in me ultimately, but
Oh, I guess I was going off of when he said, if you believe in naturalism, then you believe that this was a natural process. So he didn't say that in the tweet, but he said it out loud.
I think he's trying to stick to a teleological argument where like the purpose of the process originally was random, so then everything following it must also be the same level of randomness. Everything has to have the exact same purpose.
It's a category
the entire
error.
way down. But yeah, is it
category error or genetic fallacy?
It's a category error because the category shifts. Like you said, the minute that sentience or sapience is introduced, the category shifts. It's like it's sci-fi author writes a book about somebody who makes an AI that starts doing its own things. Now, was that the person within that sci-fi book's intentionality to have an AI that goes off and does random horrible things? Probably not. But if you're sticking to this teleological unsound category error argument, then every single thing that follows from the moment that the person makes the AI was all the intention of the original author. But that's not, I mean, the original person within the book, not the author. Obviously the author meant it the entire way through. This stuff doesn't work the minute that there is a process that was not sentient or sapient that begets something that is sentient or sapient, or a sentient or sapient person who begets a different sentient or sapient person? Are we going to try to argue that like a parent has a child and they intended then for that child to do everything that child does in their life? Are we pretending that the chain of events is
no?
Are we pretending that the chain
Shall
of
I tell
events
you about my
always
thing?
begins from the same source? Are we doing that? Because that's not how reality works.
I got beaten up by a 6-year-old today. Like
He's
literally,
not lying.
that was literally how he greeted me. Like he was trying to run away, so I had to grab him and pick him up, and his response to that was to punch me in the face repeatedly. So yeah, no, that wasn't, it wasn't me that produced that child. So like, unless you're saying my partner intended for him to punch me in the face.
She had the kid before she met you going, one day you're going
One day this kid is going to punch a rhino in the face.
Okay, it sounds more badass when you word it that way, though.
Yeah, well, so I could see that being like she intends for him to be a badass that beats up a rhino, and then it ends up being me.
The monkey's paw curls just a little bit.
That's right.
Yeah.
Can visualize that that's nonsense, right?
Now, I do love the fact that Twitter has opened up where you can do lots of visuals, lots of videos, and now they're kind of becoming a platform where you can share, because the memes on
Because writing is hard.
It's been that way for so many years.
Ever since I've signed up, I've been able to post videos and pictures. Now, I think the videos used to be limited to like 1 minute, but
like, okay, memes go viral more often than anything else. And we know that Twitter, if you have something with a visual, it's probably going to be engaged more often, just statistically. Sure, but again,
I find that to not be the case, but that might be because when I post a visual, it's got too much text in it.
You're just replacing the text with text on a PNG.
Well, because like I posted like every now and then I still get comments on my my Greg Locke is a cult short from people that are fans of Greg Locke, and the last one was just nuts. Where is it?
Somebody from my chat, was Paul warned of the effects of joining this?
I was not.
Yeah. So this person says I don't go to church, but if I did, it's typo mania, but I think that's trying to say I'd go to Greg Lick's church, which I like. It's Greg Locke's church, because he tells you real raw truth, not watered down, softy shell, don't hurt my feelings kind of church. People need to be offended, and it sounds like all who are against him are pretty offended. Weak minds, people that cannot handle the truth. No masks, no jab. I trust in Jesus. That's all in caps, by the way. That's a lot of words. Yeah, so I posted the screenshot of that. That's not getting the engagement that I normally get, because that's a lot of words. But I responded to that with an all caps post of my own that says, "You sound like a totally well-adjusted individual whose comment I should take seriously."
Wait, Rhino, did you get the conspiracy nutter I met at the bar commenting on your stuff? Because the guy tried to tell me that the jab gave you AIDS.
What's the username?
He has not found my channel yet, thank God. Because the video where I talked about that moment, chat had gotten me to get into face cam mode for it, so I didn't get to hide behind my avatar for the video where I'm talking about meeting the crazy guy at the bar. So I'm hoping he doesn't find my channel where I talk about the crazy guy at the bar.
I just liked how Eric's take was, I like how Twitter doesn't make me use words anymore. I can use pictures.
I can communicate in memes. That's what the kids like.
You know what, Paul?
Days.
Paul? I absolutely loved Eric's reaction when you told him that Vice Rhino is an anagram for Eric Hovind. Like he was just like he didn't know what to say, and he was clearly not happy about it.
You should clip that and make that a short on one of your channels.
I wish I could still find this, but like ages and ages and ages ago, the first interaction I had with Eric Hovind where he actually like interacted with me was when he posted something about missing Redbox. You guys remember Redbox, where you could rent a DVD from a vending machine? So he posted about missing Redbox, and I responded to that with, "Well, have you tried RedTube? It's even better than Redbox." And he liked that tweet. He liked that reply.
God.
Yeah, that was the first ever interaction I had with him. So I'm like, I'm never going to have a cordial relationship with this guy ever. That's out the window now.
Well, no Christmas card for you.
Twitter are fantastic. And I got to tell you, Wendell, that's something that as I was on Twitter for years, I was kind of jealous sometimes of the creativity of the atheists. They can be incredibly
It's amazing what
creative
happens when you
with
read more
their
than
memes.
one book.
Yeah, he thinks we can be incredibly creative, says the guy that I just pointed out once fell for liking a tweet recommending porn site to him.
Yeah. That was clearly creative.
And I thought they were great. So we'll come across a few here in a second. I thought it was interesting that John, who obviously is an atheist on this thread, says, nobody, atheist or otherwise, would say that. Come on, man.
Oh, it's John
Come on,
Heyman.
man.
Oh, John
Oh.
Hammond, yeah.
Yeah.
I know John.
Yeah,
Hi,
I was talking
John.
with him the other day. He's a good guy.
I think John sent me something on Amazon once.
Was it his book or his comic?
It might have been.
Because if it's Morningstar, it's his comic.
Oh.
Oh, I
That's my
have
favorite
some of
novel.
those. Yeah.
Yeah, I've got one of those sitting in my bedroom.
I don't
with a bunch of my
think
other
I've,
books.
I don't think I've gotten a comment.
Well, good job, John, for correctly saying that no naturalist would say that.
If we follow John's thought, where are we going to end up at is my question. Everything was just blind, random chance in a naturalistic, materialistic universe in an atheistic worldview. So we are going to end up on that. And John realizes that nobody's going to encounter a sandcastle like that and think that it was the product of nature.
But wait, hold on. This doesn't work though, because random chance happens all the time, and significant things happen as a result of random chance literally every day. There are people whose significant others they've been with for over 10 years. They met as a result of random chance. I don't want to hear Wendell tell me that significant things never come about randomly. That's just kind of a lie. It just ignores how the universe works.
Yeah.
That it does.
You know, it's intuitive that was created. And that's what I wanted people to realize.
Okay, so he makes that comment, and you respond with, but yet you believe something much more complex was the result of natural processes. I want to get into this, but tell me what goes into your mind when you're actually, you've got limited time, you've got limited people that you should respond to. What makes you decide when to respond and when not to respond on Twitter? What makes you go, you know what, I'm going to throw this response in there. That came in. Let me throw a response in.
I don't
Yeah,
feel
when
like
the
he
door
puts
gets-
thought into it.
Sorry, I missed that.
I don't think he puts thought into it. He just flies by the seat of his pants.
I'm guessing it's impulse, which is how I deal with Twitter.
Yeah. There's nothing wrong with that approach. It's fucking Twitter.
Right.
I was trying to figure out what the notification I just got was.
Oh, that was me sending
what it
the
was.
screenshot of that was me sending the screenshot of Eric liking my post that says I prefer RedTube to Redbox. It streams for free with no pesky lineups. Winky face. And then you can tell this is ancient Twitter because not only do I have my avatar from before I had so this would have been before I was at 10,000 subscribers. So like in my first year on YouTube. So this is like 2016, 2017 era.
Have you ever thought about getting a
open to
realistic Rhino mask that looks like that one?
No. People tell me I should all the time, but no.
And actually, while I'm remembering, I just kind of want everyone to appreciate your shirt.
Expressions of Darth Vader.
I've always loved that shirt.
Yeah.
It's a good one.
I wear this on days when my daughter is wearing her. She's got just one picture of Darth Vader that says, "This is my happy face."
Nice.
Good, because that's where I wanted the conversation to go. We look at a sandcastle, that is nothing in comparison to the universe we live in, the complexity of this universe, and yet it is designed precisely the way it needs to be to support life here on Earth. That is definitely
Really?
the
Is that
product.
why the
No.
oxygen count is
No.
low?
It's not, and
Like, I'm fairly certain the oxygen count on the planet has actually changed radically over the last billion years. But
So,
sure, precisely designed.
here's the thing with that argument, though. It doesn't work for young Earth creationists because there's two directions you can go with that. You can go, one, the Earth is perfect for supporting human life, which is easy to point out. No, 75% of it is water that we can't live in. A good chunk of the rest of it is like desert and deep jungle that
It's
we can't
fully
live in.
inhospitable.
There's the Arctic and Antarctic. We can't live there. Most of the Earth is not hospitable for life. Yeah, there's the tweet that Eric liked of me recommending porn to him. Yeah, so most of the Earth is inhospitable. Most of the universe is inhospitable to life. You transport a human to anywhere, like a random spot anywhere within the universe, 99.9999999, etc. % chance that they just die instantly because they are taken to the vacuum of space or the middle of a star, or
Yeah, if you don't have the perfect set of conditions in the middle of a Goldilocks zone, like you're not faring
it's
too
not
well.
fine-tuned for life. But then the other tack that argument can take, which is the stronger position, is that like the universal constants are fine-tuned such that life could develop. That one assumes that evolution is true, so that doesn't work for young Earth creationists.
That one also assumes that the omnipotent creator, the infinitely creative deity, could only conceive of such an inefficient system.
Well, and like there's also like there's the fact that physicists who have actually looked into this have figured out that there is actually some wiggle room with the constants, like quite a bit of wiggle room. There's a graph that I've shown repeatedly that it's on a blog post by Ethan Siegel, who is an astrophysicist, or he's a cosmologist of some breed or another. Really good writer too. He's a science communicator, and there's a graph that just shows like, okay, so these are the potential values for this constant, these are the potential values for that constant, these are the potential values for that constant, and everything under here could potentially develop stars that would have habitable zones on which like planets could develop life. And like this whole range of potential values. So it's not that fine-tuned, but then even if it was, the fine-tuning argument is an argument against God, because I'd be way more impressed if everything we studied about the universe suggested that life was impossible. Yet here we are.
I love that point. Yeah.
It's like that would be proof of God. Well,
creating life in a life supporting universe is less impressive than creating life in a non-life creating universe.
Like where would you expect to find life in a universe?
That's what I wanted John.
No, go ahead. That was all I want to say.
To realize if he thinks that this sandcastle is ridiculous to think that it came from nature, what do you think about the universe itself? Something much more complex. So I threw that out to him, hoping to get his wheels turning to think a little bit more deeper on the subject. There's some few atheists out there that I do know.
Why he tweets anything to get people to think deeper. Fuck off.
He does it because he gets engagement and he gets dopamine when engagement happens, because that's the reason most people post on Twitter.
Oh, I'm very excited now because I was hoping that we would be able to test super chats. Let me go to this. I don't know which channel this came in on.
I think it's mine.
All right. So Danny Smith, thank you for the $5. Writes, the fine-tuning argument assumes those variables could be anything, and every value is of equal probability. Two massive assumptions with no basis.
Yeah.
I agree.
That's another big issue with the argument.
Until someone shows me that things can be otherwise, I'm not going to be impressed.
Well, because we have a sample size of 1.
Yeah.
Exactly.
We won't ever get a sample size of other than 1. I think. I say I think because I have no idea what we're going to develop in the future. That goes, actually, we opened up a portal and look, there's this alternate universe. Step inside and die immediately. Like.
That are well-meaning. They do want it to have actual conversation. They're not just out to troll. So I will reply to them more often than I will others. Sometimes I will troll atheists back. I'll admit I do that sometimes. But it's just part of the process, because
there you go. We got your admission right on tape there.
Because actually this
probably wasn't on tape. I don't know why I said on tape.
Method to that madness. If you troll somebody back that's trolling you, and you do it in a particular way, you can actually open up a dialogue with them. It's like they respect their own method. Does that make sense?
It does. And I found the same thing. And our friend Daniel, Darwin to Jesus, I got a few of his that we'll pull up here in just a minute. But he does the same thing. He's like, I've actually found atheists that will respect me because I'm mirroring their conversation and just giving it right back to them. So what?
Oh, shit.
I don't know any atheist that respects Eric Hovind. Like on an intellectual level, I just don't.
I don't like. Could you imagine just like saying something like, "Oh yeah, I respect you because you show me the same level of disrespect that I show you"? What?
Yeah.
Like, how does that even follow as a coherent sentence?
I mean, I do respect wit, and I respect well-formed phrases. I respect apt arguments. Like there's lots of things I can respect about someone who holds the opposite position of me. Absolutely. But tone isn't one of them. Like anyone can mirror tone. Actually, that's not always true. Sometimes an intellectual tone can't be mirrored very well. But a race to the bottom, lowest common denominator,
That's not going to make anybody respect you.
Yeah, no.
I don't want to pick on anybody in your church, but what some sweet old lady in your church might think, well, Wendell, how dare you? It's almost like, no, you need to communicate with them in this way. I mean, not that she's on Twitter doing that, but
Yeah, absolutely. I've actually received messages from other Christians.
So Eric's advice for Twitter ministry is to give them hell.
Be inflammatory.
Be inflammatory. Meet bad motives, bad arguments with more bad motives about it.
Become the worst common denominator, because that's what the Twitter algo loves.
Right.
It puts you in front of more people when you fight more people. It's like a video game.
And then when
Do
your
they not
congregants
understand
express
that-
concern with that, just brush it off. Be like, nope, I'm fighting for the Lord.
I mean, they admit that they like to be trolls and they like to get the hate responses back. Do they think that the trolls on the other side are internalizing the counter troll posts any more than they are? Like, that's just making noise
on Twitter. And they're like, that comes off a little harsh, a little unloving. And they were doing that because they were concerned. But when I explained it to them, the process, they're like, oh, that makes sense.
So, Christians, you can be as mean as you want. I'm just kidding. It is important, though, to figure out how to mirror.
What's that verse in, I think it's in 1 Peter about...
but do so with gentleness and respect.
Yes, that's the one.
Yeah, that's it. Always be prepared to give a defense for the hope you have within you, but do so with gentleness and respect.
Is trolling gentleness and respect, do you think? Like, even if he's got the intentions that he says he has in this video, is that gentleness and respect?
No.
No. Unless you go by the standard of you're giving them the same thing that they gave you, which he kind of is. It's still not gentleness and respect, though. This person was an asshole to me. I was an asshole back to them. We respect each other.
Another one, and then just kind of tell me, okay, why'd you post it? What's going through your mind? Let's just go through some of these conversations. And by the way, before I hit this next one, I mean, like, did you get a degree in Twitter apologetics? Is that why you're doing this? Or is this something that anybody can do?
Oh, do you need a degree in apologetics to have a Twitter account? What the fuck kind of question is that?
That's such
Come on, Eric.
bad joke.
Also, yeah, a degree in apologetics, first of all, is like the lowest hanging fruit of, I guess, music ministry. Even I would respect more. I don't. A degree in Sunday school is the apologetics.
I mean, to be fair, music ministry is like how to play EGC with minor variations.
It is, but there is actual science involved with the music ministry stuff. Shannon Q, member of my channel, writes, I'm sending a super chat just because there aren't any and I like attention.
Well, here is that attention you ordered. It was $5 Canadian.
You got $5 worth of attention.
Yeah. We don't have you guys don't have coffee table wars on your channel like we have on our channels.
No. I mean, I do not have a coffee table in my house for the record.
Really?
I don't either. I have a
we have side tables though.
Oh.
And I do also have an entertainment unit in front of the like the TV is wall mounted, but there's still like a little entertainment console there to hold all this stuff.
Yeah. Mine
Well,
tends to hold computer
that's
parts.
all going to gather clutter, so I can't.
I know.
endorse
I
it.
have 5 children. You think I can see any of the stuff that's supposed to be there?
Look, I had 2 entertainment systems once, and now I only have 1 because 1 got converted into the thing that holds my microwave in the kitchen.
Wow, so you've got a whole.
It's because it was one of the ones that was built to hold like tube TVs, so all the holes are square.
That's what I was thinking. Yeah.
All the holes are square. So we moved that because it's not useful for modern dimensions of TVs anymore. So we.
No,
moved
but I'm
it
imagining, does it have like a DVD rack beside it? Like, can you put DVDs?
No, it's
and
all
VHS
just like
tape drawers.
it's all just like slotted square holes, basically.
Oh, okay.
That you were supposed to put your own like plastic cases in. So like one of them holds my toaster oven, one of with a toaster next to it. One of them holds the microwave. One of them is for all of my hot sauces. One holds like the potatoes and the onions and the garlic. Like it's just the cooking organizer.
But does it feel like you should pull up a chair and look at it?
I actually have 2 chairs in the kitchen. So
Just stare at the microwave.
yes,
Yeah.
I just press it and go, this is the entertainment for the next 4.5 minutes. I like when it spins.
Nitty for $10 rates my tithe for your Habermassive footnote collection. Appreciate. I am if we're taking a brief moment to be distracted, I've been reading the 1100 page Gary Habermas book, and I have 50 pages left only. I'm so excited.
I mean, I'm working on a project that's probably going to take me the better part of like 9 months to do at the moment as well. It's the the opposite of Gary Habermas in a way. The what's it? Undesigned Coincidences.
Oh,
So the way I'm going through this, and I know this is kind of cheating, is I know for a fact because he challenged me that like, oh, find undesigned coincidences between the various iterations of the Lord of the Rings, and I know for a fact that there are many little details that made it into the movies that have no bearing on the plot whatsoever. They are not important details, but they are also in the book, or they're referenced in the book in another way, and because back when the extended editions first came out, I watched all of the special features for it. So like I've got all of this background knowledge or whatever. So I'm going through all this material again to collect like every time they mention that like, oh yeah, there was this little detail that wasn't really important. Like Bilbo's red vest with bronze buttons when he picks up the ring under the Misty Mountains. Tolkien made a big deal about his buttons in the book, about his brass buttons that he was very proud of.
Yep.
And how he lost them as he was squeezing out of the thing. And there he is in his brass buttons. It's not important that the buttons are brass. And so
yeah, it would have to be in a different scene for that to be an undesigned coincidence, right?
I mean, not necessarily, because isn't the quintessential example of the green grass, isn't that like the same scene, but like from different perspectives? I don't know. I'm right now. I'm just writing down.
Well, yeah. No, I guess the perspective is that one,
right?
That one has a detail that explains a detail in the other, but they don't reference each other.
Yeah. So
I'm not sure how the buttons one actually applies as an undesigned coincidence, because that's
I don't think it's necessarily that it has to explain a detail. I think it's like it's a detail that is there that doesn't necessarily matter.
Okay.
And I don't know. We'll see. Because like I am going to because right now I'm watching all of the special features, and then I'm going to watch the casting through commentary and the behind the scenes. There's 3 separate commentary tracks that I'm going to watch, and so that's like 12 hours of movie that I have to watch 3 times.
Oh my goodness!
Actually,
and yeah, and I'm going to read the books again, and I'm going to go into the 1978 cartoon version as well, because I know there's a couple things that they reference in there.
Oh, that would be a great triangle for sure.
Speaking of which, did you know that the director of the 1978 cartoon version of The Lord of the Rings, just before he did that, he directed an X-rated cat raunchy cartoon thing that was the
Was it
first ever.
Fritz- was it
It was
called
the
Fritz
first
the
ever
Cat?
X-rated.
It was Fritz the Cat.
Fritz the Cat.
It was
It was
Fritz
the
the
first
Cat.
ever X-rated cartoon.
I have never seen it. I saw it in the video store, and as a good Christian boy, I would look away.
It was the same guy who did the Lord of the Rings.
But I remember that it existed, and remember being intrigued. But that made my that would that would be a lust thing in my heart, or just some kind of bad thought. So
I totally want to see it now. Like
now I need to now I
do not
Now you
am
need to
eager
know.
to
I
see it.
don't think I'd be into it whatsoever, but I want to see it.
That's
God,
and then you're gonna get the theists on my channel. Yeah, you used to be a Christian, but now you just want to watch Fritz the Cat.
Now you watch
so.
Furryborn. God, the undesigned coincidences thing. It reminds me of So I'm a huge Resident Evil fan. Movies, books, video games,
Really?
and I got really into studying like the philosophies of all the different characters at one point. So when they released Resident Evil 3, the remake, there's a first-person section at the beginning of the game where you can walk around Jill Valentine's bedroom and see basically just like the state of her house. And there's a bunch of details in it that matter, where you can read like the notes she's gotten in code from other members, because it turns out the Umbrella Corporation was in on the whole zombies are infesting the world thing. But there's a lot of stuff that as I was going through there, I was looking at all the different books she had on the shelves and the ones that were like out and looked like they'd been read. And I was going, oh, all this makes sense. This is all stuff that she would read after the incident at the Arclay Mansion, because this is all either like coping mechanism stuff or stuff that's really important. And I started making a video on it. And then I played Resident Evil 7 and saw all of the same books lying everywhere and realized none of this has anything to do with her character. These are all just asset swaps from a previous game.
David Hepworth has a good point. I could also get the Leonard Nimoy music video. The Bilbo
nice.
Baggins, bravest little hobbit of them all. Yeah.
We have one last super chat. Melody Kate, I have a degree in detecting ass hats. It is going off watching this video.
So we're a bunch of ass hats?
There's 3 of us here.
That's right. There's at least 5 potential ass hats. We'll hopefully Melody doesn't mean us.
Thing anybody can do. I mean, if you're willing to learn, to put the study in, you don't have to have a degree in apologetics to practice apologetics. In fact, the Bible tells us that we are to.
No, that's actually the problem with apologetics, is that it's not one book. You need extra books to explain the book that was written by the all-powerful, all-knowing God of the universe, who should be able to get his perfect message
He's
across.
not the
perfectly
author of
phonetically.
confusion. Stop lying to me.
That's right.
So why do we need
the
books explaining the book?
The inerrant book cannot be understood.
We defend their faith, but it doesn't tell us we have to go get a degree first before we do so.
And I have found that
That's 'cause
I know
degrees
some
didn't exist
Christian
back then.
parents, I guess I got a lot of thoughts going through my mind. Some Christian parents want to go, I want to protect my child from that. I don't want them to see all those responses the atheists might get to them. And
If your God is all powerful, then none of us should have any sway.
Also, like, if you have actually had a legitimate, real experience with the saving God of creation, who's going to save your soul, and who, just being in permanent communion with him is such a joy that's what heaven is to most Christian denominations. If you've actually had a real experience with him, then you shouldn't have to worry about atheists being a jerk online.
The other part you can console yourself with is that if you're really a Christian, you can't fall away. So the only people we're dragging, if your children were never going to be a Christian anyway, then we can affect them. But because no former Christian is ever really a Christian. So
Okay.
it's a tautology there that we've created.
I know we've got super chats to get to, but right after the super chats, Jeff Cochran says, you don't need a college degree to sell Cutco knives. Oh, thank goodness. I used to sell Cutco knives. I still have my demo set, which is the set of knives that I use now.
I love Cutco knives. They're great.
Okay. They're decent. For the same price, you can get much better knives, but I got mine at a very steep discount as an employee.
I've only ever received them as gifts, so I wasn't concerned. All right, we have a few super chats. We have Parched Penguin 9 says, "Yo, my bro plays Magic professionally."
Did you say penguin? Because that clearly
That's a
says
pigeon.
Pigeon. Apparently I am dyslexic tonight.
Yep, that
Me-
one's over on my
penguins are
channel.
degenerate motherfuckers. You don't confuse penguins with pigeons.
This is on over on Suris channel. Yes, Suris now plays Magic professionally. I guess that's what we're.
No,
hearing?
I think they're saying that their brother plays Magic professionally. I don't play Magic professionally. I'm trying to work playing Magic into my profession, which is somehow different.
Well, as someone who has turned their hobby into their profession many times, it ruins the hobby.
That's what I hear.
You'll notice I don't do a lot of stuff about Star Wars anymore. It's just it's a thing. All right, Poor Claire, $4.99. I've been learning about manifestation. Shannon vibrated the frequency of the coffee table's toasters to attract them. Hashtag divine feminine receiving energy.
I love it.
Perfect. All right, let's get back to the see if we can get a little further in.
Mind
Eric.
is, no, this is a great place to do real education, to do real learning. You will get real world
Wendell does.
experience through interactions like this.
Going back to your example there, I believe we should encourage our children, now when they get about high school age is a good time to start, really should encourage them to get into the mud.
Yeah, I don't think a kid who's entering social media at high school for the first time should start with Twitter. I just can't recommend that.
That would make me feel like the time that my back when I was working at Aldi, I had a coworker who tried to proselytize to me every day as I was in the early stages of building my channel. And if he lost an argument at work, he would then text me after work and go, so I looked the thing up and turns out I'm right because X, Y, and Z. I think that we were talking about the Jesus when he was talking about slavery, and he was like, no, he really meant servants. I'm like, no, I'm fairly certain he meant slaves because that's what we were talking about in the context of that passage. Sure, bud. That's about the equivalent of what you'll get if you just throw them into high school Twitter.
Yeah, that's not gonna...
They're gonna say dumb shit, and then they're gonna look it up and go, "No, this one person who everybody has shown is actually incorrect says I'm right. Wendell says I'm right on Twitter. That means I'm right."
Yeah, I had a comment on my slavery video recently that was like, the Bible didn't mention the American slave trade, therefore you can't say that the Bible approved of it.
Oh my god! Yeah,
it's like, yeah, no, it mentioned slavery that was just as bad as that, but because it didn't mention that specific iteration of it, it can't be in favor of it.
The slavery of the Canaanites, not the same thing, therefore not applicable. Still,
by that
slavery.
logic, also God can't have intervened with Twitter because Twitter's not in the Bible.
Yeah.
So,
did you see Eric's post a little while ago? That was like someone mentioned evolution's not in the Bible, therefore it's not real or whatever. So I retweeted that one with them like, yeah, well, the internet's not in the Bible, and yet here you are.
Dr. Don Hogg, xenobiologist at large, sends $2. Thank you, Dr. Don. Hide your kids, hide your wife, deconstructing everybody.
I believe that last name is pronounced Hogue.
Hogue?
At least the people that I knew with that last name pronounced it Hogue.
Not on Dukes of Hazzard.
Okay, well, I never watched Dukes of Hazzard. Is Dr. Don Hogg a character on Dukes of Hazzard?
Boss Hogg was he was the in charge of the town. And that just shows that I'm a million years old. Norm Deputes writes, "Whoops, dropped my wallet and $2 fell out." Hey,
that's a Rhino chat.
That is a Rhino chat.
That's a good place to put your $2. Appreciate you. All right.
Wrestle with some of these arguments that's going on, because so often these kids, they'll hear something repeated from an authority figure at school, right? Like a professor or a teacher, and they'll just take it for truth. And they think this person, that they were hired to teach me, so therefore they know what they're talking about.
That certainly happened to me at the Christian school that I went to. Yeah, I went to a Christian school, and there was a lot that was said to me that I just took as truth.
Yep.
I assumed that these people were qualified to teach. Paul, I think you missed Annie Smith's super chat. Right after Neuromptoputs.
We got We got Danny Smith, another $2. I agree. Please have your kids talk to atheists. Yes, indeed. That's great
Yeah.
advice.
And as an atheist, I expose my kids to the Bible. I used to have a podcast with my daughter that we definitely don't have time for anymore, so that is not coming back. But like we read through the book of Genesis, a couple of passages in the New Testament, and just like read it to her and got her opinion of it. And yeah, she is never going to become a Christian at this point. She's just like, nope, I've read too much of your book. It doesn't make sense.
Propaganda out there against Christianity in the Western world, particularly in America. And so the Christianity is often on the receiving end of attacks. It's protecting your children to teaching them how to defend their faith is the best way to protect your children from these atheistic movements, in my opinion.
What would you?
I don't actually disagree with that advice. If I was a Christian, if I had young kids again and was still a Christian, I feel like that this whole, have them eat a spoonful of dirt every once in a while for inoculation would make more sense than like what happened to me. Well, and this is as in the new Satan's Guide to the Bible and things like that. It's like, well, it was when this snowball of stuff hit me, started being like, wait, I didn't know that, and I didn't know that, and I didn't know that. Like you guys, I felt like they had been hiding things from me. Even though there are allegedly good answers to these things, when it comes at you all at once later on, it's overwhelming. It's not bad Christian advice. I don't know if you guys disagree.
I'm not sure if it would have mattered for me because like my parents were not fundamental. Like my dad is not a Christian. And he kind of gave me the side eye when he saw that I referred to him as an atheist in one video. Because like he's like, I never really used that label. Okay, fine. You never use the label. Do you believe God exists? No. Okay. By my definition, you're an atheist. But if you don't want the label, that's fine. I won't use it. But my mother goes to a rather liberal church. In fact, it was the first church in Canada that agreed to perform gay marriages.
Okay.
I was actually at the annual general meeting where they made that decision. They put on a play where like they had some guy that was anti-gay, and then an angel came down and gave him gay vision or whatever, or perfect gaydar.
Gay vision?
And like, and everybody who was gay, he saw as like their skin turned blue. And it turned out that everybody had a little bit of blue in them. So like they were teaching this whole sexuality is on a spectrum thing at their annual general meeting, which of course, as a good little Christian boy at the time, I was appalled, but like looking back on it, I'm like, no, that's actually pretty great. So that's the church that she was a part of. It's just mostly like I kind of logicked myself into creationism in that like, okay, like the idea that like God is the all-knowing perfect creator of everything. If he has a message for us, it's going to say what he wants it to say. Nobody's going to be able to corrupt it. And it says he created the earth in 6 days. And like, yeah, there might be metaphorical ways of interpreting that, but it seemed to me that the young earth creationist interpretation made the most sense. And so I kind of self-radicalized. But then I was only ever I never actually sat down and read through the Bible itself. It wasn't until it wasn't until I noticed my first contradiction that I started having doubts, and it was like, okay, well, they say you read the Bible, study the Bible daily to remain strong in your faith. So I'm just going to sit down and read the whole damn thing. And I was an atheist by the book of Joshua, and reading back on the books that came before Joshua, I'm surprised I lasted that long.
Yeah, I had basically the opposite. Christian private school, PCA got me to young earth creationism at a super young age. And then as I got older and I stopped constantly reinforcing my faith by being either around the people I grew up with or not being at the school anymore, just over time, little bits of what I was taught either got contradicted or fell by the wayside until I finally reevaluated everything and went, oh, I'm just not a Christian now. Oops. I don't know when that happened, but heck.
Oops. We have a couple of super chats that come in. We have Jester, Lord of Fools, who writes, get a full screen of the Jedi Eric screen. Do you know what that is? What's Jedi Eric?
The pause screen you got, his hand was out and his eyes were closed.
Oh, well, we can do that. Here we go. I will do
Super
that.
chat off so they can take a screenshot of that.
Oh, that's right. That's right. We got to take that off. Where? Oh, we have our super chats came in. That's why. All right, there it is. There's your. We'll do requests, but we have another one super chat now. We have Dr. Don Hogue. I'm gonna say now, xenobiologist at large. Do you have any blue in you? Do you want some?
Going to look at the show Bluey with a whole new light now.
Thank you, Dr. Don. And we have one ND only. Smithy writes, "Hey, Paul, been showing your videos to my Christian mom, and her response to me talking atheism all the time is that God's searching for me."
Yeah,
Not looking very hard.
That happens. I remember as a kid, like after my sister had made it clear that she was the black sheep of the family, she asked my mother if she could borrow her copy of Jesus Christ Superstar, and my mother was convinced that that was God's way of bringing her back into the fold. It's like, no, it's just got catchy tunes.
I will say though, one ND only, that is actually like that's amongst the possible responses. That's a pretty good response, because what you can do is tell your mom, you know what, just keep praying. Don't tell me about it, but just, you know, if that's what she needs to keep her hope alive and to be able to maintain the relationship and to ideally be in a situation where she's just now she's just waiting on God's timing to bring you back. If you can both agree that you're just waiting for God's timing, you can have a couple of decades of good relationship between. So that's not so terrible, I don't think.
You say to the Christian who's like, oh my goodness, you should not be sarcastic on a social media platform like Twitter where all the world can see.
Oh yeah, and I do get that. I get that objection. I tell them you should be sarcastic, because sarcasm is a tool that we can use, and if used correctly, it can lead us to an end that we're trying.
Do you guys ever have your audience tell you that you shouldn't be sarcastic?
Not often. I'm sure it's come up at some point.
Every now and again, I'll get an email saying that I'm too sarcastic or too antagonistic, but typically I tend to not worry with it too much.
I get it on Twitter because on Twitter, I just do whatever the hell I want. Like my channel, my YouTube channel is where I'm crafting a message.
It's my favorite interactions of yours is when you just post something to be goofy, and then people respond to you with, "Oh, I'm so disappointed that you would be like this."
I guess, but I think that for a lot of people, I needed Ricky Gervais and George Carlin in my deconversion process as much as I needed some of the other people. Like I needed some poking fun at.
Yeah.
So
the brevity certainly helps.
That's why, as what I mentioned in my last video, is that like one of the things that the what is he, Redeem Zoomer, whatever his name is. One of the things that he said is that, like, oh, well, you know, atheists are making these arguments that the church has had answers to for 2,000 years. I'm like, yeah, but like there weren't really atheists writing 2,000 years ago. And like, we only have quotes of the people who are against the church as quoted by people that were responding to them, like Origen. So it's like, it's helpful to like rephrase them in ways that it's going to be more approachable to people. So like, yeah, I might not be making a different argument than Prophet of Zod or Paul or Suris or someone thinks I'm in a fight with Logic, because in my list of people I didn't say Logic, but Logic as well. This is like, it's helpful to have these different approaches because they're going to be appealing to different people at different times in their journey through life. Like
there have definitely been times where in your video you've addressed a topic that I have already addressed or intend to address in the future, and something about your phrasing absolutely just catches my ear better than any way I've been able to come up with it. Or I mean, it happens with any time I'm listening to, and I don't listen to very many skeptic videos anymore. I tend to listen to more Christian, but I think like reiterating something in new ways, you never know who's going to connect with a certain analogy better
Yeah, I find
versus-
Zod does that for me really well.
Yeah. Someone's going to say, Paul, we have no idea what Dukes of Hazzard is, so we don't understand what you're talking about. We have another super chat from Vishanti, says, check your DMs for the text I wanted to write. All right, well, let's see what that is. All right, you wanted to write, behold, the user went out to tweet. Some tweets were seen by bots and were ignored. Others were seen on the For You page and went viral immediately because they were rage bait. But when the smart folks woke up, they were scorched because they had no cogent arguments and withered. Others were seen by trolls, and the trolls replied with shit posts. Others were seen by fellow Christians and reinforced belief. The one who reads, let him scroll. There's a very good modern parable. Thank you, Vishanti.
See, I misread that and was like, "Oh, the text that I wanted to write is going to be super intrappropriate for the stream." So, I named it to you.
You know what? I
actually
didn't read it. I just threw it right up there. All right. I trust.
I guess we just have different audiences, so our expectation. I expect the raunch.
Yeah, the Vishanti's often on my live streams, and
yeah, if that was stuff, it would have been an image of us in our threesome.
It would have been. So according to the Twitter chat, it looks like Anime Apology is actually currently being worked on.
Well, okay. Well,
as of like 15 minutes ago. So
I don't. I may not throw that up on screen without reading it first. And poor Claire for $5 writes, "Thank you, Universe, for sending Shannon a coffee table and toaster. Thank you, Paul, for buying them. Thank you. Yeah. All right. I don't know that that's going to tip the scales, but we'll see. You never know. God, if it's in God's hands
in
now.
mysterious ways.
Yeah.
No, that was manifesting.
Because we're trying to show them a truth that they may not be able to see any other way. They need to see this truth.
Okay,
exactly.
You should have put a buffering wheel in Eric's
Let me hit another one here. Okay, you posted this. Let's be honest. If atheists had their way in America, they would abolish the First Amendment in the United States and make Christianity illegal. I'm like,
What?
okay,
No.
that's a pretty powerful.
what?
And this is him trying to reach hearts and minds and make them the good arguments.
Lying? I am.
I like if we go forward, he's actually going to basically admit that he doesn't think this is really going to happen.
Powerful, like punch to the face. Is this genuine, or is this you trying to get a response to see what they say? Tell me what you're thinking on this one.
I want them to begin thinking through the importance of religious liberty in America. And do I believe that this is truth?
Okay. The importance of religious liberty in America, like having the right to be a member of this temple, this satanic temple, and be equally represented in a government building that is chosen to represent Christian religion, which he seems to be against. That's freedom of religion, buddy.
Yeah, I think that atheists tend to think about religious freedom a lot more than your average Christian does.
We don't assume that our ideology is going to be the prevailing one. We're used to living in a world where our ideology, insofar as there even is an atheist ideology, isn't the prevailing argument. It isn't we are not the majority. And because we're used to that, we don't have that feeling of going like Kent Hovind will say on his videos where he goes, I think we should actually have a theocracy. Like, but which religion is it going to be? Like, I know I've seen Steven Anderson say he's okay if Islam becomes the prominent religion just because it means he'll have an excuse to, harm LGBTQ people.
Yeah.
But I think most Christians, when they think atheists think that religious liberty should be taken away, they think we're assuming the same framework that they're coming from. They're used to being the dominant ones. If religious liberty was taken away in their mind, they would have the state-sponsored religion.
So you're saying this is projection?
Yeah.
Yes.
If they have the chance, they would make atheism illegal.
Yes. If you put Wendell in government and gave him the power to sign an executive order and outlaw atheism, I feel like he would have no problem doing that. And he would not see that as a violation of religious liberty.
Jacob Swinka writes, yes, let's support Christianity with armpit smelling.
But why?
I need a shower.
Thank you, Jacob. And Danny Smith, again, very generous. Thank you. $5. Hitchens mocking my religion in ways that showed how absurd it was is what started me on my deconversion path. Yeah. I think there is a place, and it may well be on the other side too, that perhaps mocking atheism does shake some atheists up and get them thinking theistically. Who knows?
Wait, I'm confused. I don't know what Shannon's talking about in the chat. I just see she said, I've also hung out with Vice, and there's no way that isn't deliberate. He's also surprisingly tall. What is that in reference to?
You have to. I have 5 chats in my little wheel all at once, so I don't.
I know that's where I'm reading it.
I can. Yeah,
You're just doing your best.
We'll have to find out.
I think if the right atheist was able to rise to power, or in another 20 or 30 years, if things continue to go as they're going now, I absolutely believe that they will at least legislate Christianity to the point where it's essentially illegal, meaning that Christians will all
find the history of us.
My background is deliberate. Yes, it absolutely was.
Find the history of us doing this. But then again, he did make his comment about.
He's going to say the history of us doing this is Stalin.
Or he's going to talk about the Supreme Court's ruling on prayer in school and say, look, this is the inch they took. We need to make them not take a mile.
Where you can't force children in a public school to be Christian?
Yes.
And perform Christian rituals?
I also...
Just make it Muslim. Would you be comfortable with a Muslim teacher making their students get on prayer mats 5 times a day? No? Then you can understand why non-Christian parents wouldn't want their kids going to school and having Christian prayer enforced on them.
I also am curious what he thinks virtually illegal or essentially illegal means. Like,
it means they can't force it on other people.
No, but is like, let's pretend we live in a world where the government cares what pronouns you say because they think that the government cares. Is that making Christianity virtually illegal, for example?
Jesus didn't have no pronouns.
Only be allowed to preach a certain way, speak a certain way, operate in a certain way, similar to what you might find in other countries of the world where Christianity may be legal, but it's the government sanctioned version of Christianity that's truly legal.
I mean, because already we're...
Which he's just saying because it's a different version than what he believes. These are the people that don't believe there's 100 or 200 denominations of Christianity. These are the people that believe that there are 2, theirs and the wrong ones.
Right. That's still what I believe, even though I'm not a Christian anymore.
So Freedom Inc. in my Discord or Twitch chat says, are Vice Rhino and Neko Suris the Abbott and Costello of atheism? I appreciate that comparison. I don't think we're that good, though.
That implies we have talent.
We do have a few more super chats. Bernard B wants to know, have you guys ever had an interesting talk with JWs?
Yes, that's why they don't come to my house anymore.
I have not actually had any interesting chats with JWs.
Back when I was
living... It's the Mormons I want, because when they're on mission, apparently if somebody asks for help with something, it's not required that they help with whatever was asked, but it is very heavily encouraged that they help with whatever is asked. And it gives them a break from having doors slammed in their faces. So not only are they compelled by their church to help you if you ask for help with your chores or whatever, but they will actually appreciate the break from their work. Or so it's like, no, I don't want to talk about your religion, but you want to help me weed the garden?
Oh.
But we don't have Mormons in our area, so I don't get
back when I was living in Cartersville, we had Mormons and Jehovah's Witnesses that would do door to door. Now that I live basically out in the woods in Redacted, we don't get any of that anymore. Kind of sad.
It's Redacted. I did have that Marjorie Taylor Greene's as rep.
I am public about being in District 14 and having Marjorie as my rep. Yes, that's as far as I'll go.
I did have JWs come just like 5-10 minutes before I was interviewing someone for the channel. And so I just couldn't take the time. But I pleaded with them. I'm like, please come back. Like, definitely. I'm sorry. I can't talk right now. I have a work thing to do, but please. And they haven't. So that's too bad. But I'm looking forward to sitting down and having that cool chat now that I have a bit more work freedom than I used to have. All right. I have the cockatrice. writes, the wife and I finally caught a live T2T. That's Toast to Toast, which is a show on my channel, on her birthday. But that was the day of equipment failure. Oh yeah, see, I had a very bad technical failure. We're glad to finally catch one. Cheers to all. Well, it's not Toast to Toast, but this is even better because we're doing a rogue tweet kind of thing. Appreciate you.
We're seeing hate crime ideology of, if you say homosexuality is a sin, even if you, I mean, I know guys that were in England, they literally read from the King James Bible. They just simply read verses and were arrested and fined for reading those verses. So it's not like this is a...
That sounds like something that never happened. Did you say England that happened?
England. Is anyone aware of anyone in being England?
I feel like that might have been one of those instances where they were like doing that somewhere where they were not allowed to be, and then they refused to leave, and then that's why they were arrested. But then when they post about it, it's like, oh yeah, I was just reading Bible verses and they arrested me for it.
Right, because Answers in Genesis, Answers News did have one of those stories. It was exactly like that. Was a teacher had been kicked out for proselytizing, and they were currently suspended. But they came back onto school grounds and were, again, they claimed that they were being prosecuted for just talking about Jesus. But no, you're suspended from school. You can't be here. So,
yep.
Stretch at all what you're trying to communicate.
Right. I believe there's a real danger of this happening and happening very soon. Now, will it be an outright abolishment of Christianity? I doubt it. It would be more of a government handicapping of Christianity, if that makes sense.
Sure.
A lot of red tape, just making
a lot of red tape.
We believe you, Wendell. Don't worry.
How much do you want to bet that this is just him thinking that tax the church means make Christianity illegal? It's like, I fully support tax the church. Like if they want, I feel like if churches want charity status, they need to open their books like a secular charity. Because there's so much shady shit goes on in churches. And there's actually, so I actually found, okay, the organization it's the letter X and then pastor. It's ex-pastor. So when I first saw that, I'm like, that's a porn site where it's like for pastor porn, like you do with nun porn, but it's pastors. Or that's a website, it's an organization for people who are formerly pastors. Or it's a website where former pastors are starring in porn. Like, that sounds like it might be a fun time. But no, it's actually a resource for executive pastors. And one of the things they have is they have a data set. They're supposed to like help churches.
Oh, I see. Executive. They were shortening executive pastor in a cool way.
Yeah.
To be
in the way that makes them look like porn.
Right. Okay.
But so they have a data set that they will share with you for free, which will tell you all of, like, it won't tell you which churches do what, but it'll share all these church budgets with you, including their income and what they pay their pastors and their staff and everything. The catch is, in order to get the data, you have to first submit your church's data. Now I don't know what the verification is for that. So they just have a spreadsheet that you fill out. Like, could I just make shit up and then get that data? But then if that's the case, then like, if I can just make shit up and get data, how much of this other data is just
how good is the data? Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So like there's definitely that problem with it, but I still really want to see that data.
Jacob Swenka sent another super chat with a clarification. Sorry, the armpit thing is me confusing JC Superstar with Superstar. I get it.
Okay, yeah.
That's a Saturday Night Live
I did the wrong thing. That's this.
We have Melly. Thank you, Melly. Super chat. Theocracy with the Religious Society of Friends as the state religion. Okay.
Sure thing.
J Victor, $10 of R. I'm not sure what the rupees. I don't know. Realizing that the Adam and Eve narrative can't be literally true. Toppled the entire house of cards for me. Without original sin, there's nothing to be atoned by Jesus' death. Yes, that was a big one for me as well. And also just the fact that Jesus seemed to really believe that Adam and Eve were historical people was problematic as well.
Yeah, when you start realizing the genetic bottleneck exists.
Well, like if you want to be a theistic evolutionist, that's fine. Like, because I think there's lots of ways to interpret Genesis figuratively if you want to do so. But I can't quite get, I still can't quite get how they get around that Jesus talked about Adam and Eve and Paul talked about Adam and Eve as if they were people. So, which is why William Lane Craig has his weird hybrid solution. Have either of you read his evolution book?
No.
His Adam and Eve book. His weird hybrid solution is that at some point, it was eventually the two where God just plopped the souls into them. Like up until then, the Neanderthals didn't have souls, but there were two that were the first to have souls. So,
I have heard that put forward before.
yeah, it's weird. Melody Kate, thank you. Wendell and Eric are projecting big time. I was beyond lucky to have never been a believer. The overwhelming hatred must hurt. Whose hatred? I guess
I think hatred that comes with being a bigot.
Oh,
Like they spend a lot of time and energy
it
hating
it is time consuming. It eats that soul up that we allegedly have.
Yeah.
The rules so strict that it would be hard to operate as a church in this country.
Yeah, you're allowed to say this, but you're not allowed to say that part. You can hold to this, but you can't hold to that.
It sounds like a God's Not Dead
Them
plot.
deciding.
That absolutely is a God's Not Dead plot.
That sounds like the one that they had to abandon because like they set it up at the end of one thing where like the government subpoenaed everybody's sermons and then he refused to comply and they arrested him.
Oh.
And then they had to wrap that up in like the first 30 seconds of the next movie because the real event that they ended up basing that on ended up being this big old nothing burger where a bunch of pastors were like, no, I'm not turning in my sermons. And the government was just like, fine, whatever. I don't care. And like, it wasn't even just turn in your sermons. It was like, we have evidence of you breaking the tax code where like, in order to be a charity, you have to not tell people who to vote for. And we have evidence of you telling people who to vote for. So turn in your sermons so that we can see whether or not that's what you did. So it wasn't even like oh, you can't be Christian. We're monitoring your sermons to make sure it's approved speech. It's like, no, if you want charity status, there's stipulations to that and you have to adhere to those because that's the law. Everybody has to adhere to those.
That makes some sense. You're also now telling me that there's a God's Not Dead movie that I haven't seen, and I'm not sure if that's
it's the one where the one where the kid blows up a church accidentally with a Rube Goldberg machine.
Oh no, I haven't seen that.
Oh, that one is
that must be number 4.
I think it's 4.
Dr. Don Hogue, xenobiologist at large. Thank you, Don. The Idiocracy, brought to you by Yahweh Jr. Idiocracy is a good movie that lots of people should see.
Jassa in my chat is saying God's Not Dead 3 is where things go boom.
Oh, okay.
What parts of
Is there a 4? Because that means there's 2.
There is a 4. Yes, I think 4 might be the one with Sabrina the Teenage Witch.
Christianity. So you got one guy, observations from life. I don't think atheists are organized in the way you think they are. And you said, I think the internet has played a huge role in organizing atheistic thought and injecting it into mainstream American culture.
Thank you.
That feels like the normal answer.
Okay, everybody in the chat is arguing over which God's Not Deads are which. I guess Sabrina the Teenage Witch was 2. I don't know. They all blend together.
Some of the main concepts you got back. I mean, was there a ton of pushback from atheists with this?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Because every atheist is by far, if you talk to them, is the greatest moral person to ever live, right? And we
that's
Christians
every
are just
person ever. Nobody's the villain of their own story.
Yeah, I mean, like, I can tell you bad things that I did that I'm ashamed of. I'd rather not.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean,
I don't think I'm the most moral person ever.
Everyone, has, of course, their own justifications for how they deal with, do what they do. But this has nothing to do with the pushback you're getting on would we ban Christianity the second we got office is not necessarily a moral. I don't have to think myself the greatest moral person in the world to also say, yeah, I probably wouldn't ban Christianity on my first day of office.
Yeah, well, I think they're like I think what he's kind of getting at is an iteration of the moral argument, where it's like, how are you grounding your morality? Where are you getting your morals from? And all these atheists seem to think that they have it figured out without God. So they're somehow the most moral being in existence, because God to them is the most moral being in existence.
Wendell does like that borrow from God stuff.
Yeah, we're not very good people in their eyes. I will say this. I do believe in a thing called a digital conscience. And Elon Musk has spoken on this a little bit. And it is this idea that in the digital world we live in, Twitter being the town square, it almost creates the narrative. And that narrative becomes so powerful that it tends to influence thousands and thousands of people at one particular time. That's why there's such a battle on Twitter, from the left or from the right, to try to control who can rise to the top and get their information out there. It is the world's biggest microphone. And so, and if you can use it correctly, you can create a digital conscience, or at least control it a little bit. And it's a powerful platform. And so I think
does he just ignore his digital conscience then? He created it and then ignored it.
Yep.
Twitter is becoming less like Elon since taking that over. You are so less likely now to see something you disagree with than you used to be.
Well, you know what? It's actually made tweets really easy for me, because I had so much engagement with all the shit disturbers. That's all I see.
Like I
My
get
Twitter
that
is a
it's,
cesspool.
I get that it's a reinforcement. It's probably a really powerful reinforcement engine at this point, but it's no longer this struggle. It's not the marketplace of ideas, shall we say, any longer.
Well, it also doesn't help that so many people who used to look at Twitter as this ubiquitous space that everybody would occupy, the longer Elon's been on there, the more those people have left and gone over to other platforms like Threads and Mastodon. Like, those platforms popped up overnight because it was a response to what Elon Musk was doing on Twitter. They knew that there was going to be a place where people were going to want to go to fill in that void. That only happens when you have a mass exodus.
This is pretty funny. This is pretty great. I don't Parch Pigeon 9. It's Adam and Eve, not Adam and Steve. Okay, it's Homo sapien, not heterosapien. Threw this at my dad, and he was yelling at me for a few hours. I haven't heard that one. That's pretty funny.
Perfect.
And Melly with another super chat. Thank you, Melly. I believed in evolution as a Christian and got around the question of when do humans as a species start to sin? By just not thinking about it. Yeah, that's the kind of Christian I was too. I just took it on authority that my pastor said he had good answers. My Bible school teachers said they had good answers. So I didn't actually care what the good answers were. I was just reassured that someone had the good answer. And if I needed it someday, I could look it up.
That's kind of where I was when I started my read the Bible journey.
Yeah.
Surely somebody knows what's going on.
I was actually afraid to ask about the answers, because I was afraid that there wouldn't be a good answer. So I didn't talk to my pastor about the genocides in the Bible. So I was like,
oh, just in case, right?
Yeah, how are you going to justify that? Like, how is this possibly morally justifiable? And do I even want to be the kind of person who morally justifies genocide?
Every Christian ought to be operating in Twitter for that purpose. But going back to your main question here, they do push back, and most of them don't believe they're trying to abolish anything. But ask them a few quick.
Most of them don't believe they're trying to abolish. This is like, you're not really a true Christian, or you actually really believe in God. You're just you're good at telling us what our thoughts are.
Apologists know so much better what's in our heads than we do.
Yeah,
they are
just, roll over and let them explain everything about our own psyches to us.
Mm-hmm.
I should just let Wendell write my scripts for my channel. He knows what I'm going to say.
Oh, yeah. I wish I had a writer. Actually, no.
No, that's the part I would.
That's
the last part I would give up.
I wish I had an editor.
Questions about what should be allowed in the public sphere from Christianity, and they'll pretty much veto every one of them.
Wow, and that's true.
It depends what you mean by public sphere. Like, do you mean in a government building, in a government-run institution? Then, yeah, no, I shouldn't be able to preach atheism any more than you should be able to preach Christianity. It should just be neutral.
What does preaching atheism look like?
Well, like if I were to like get up in a government building and start doing the counter apologetic stuff that I do for my channel, like no, that wouldn't be acceptable. Or like doing that in a classroom in a public school. No, don't play Vice Rhino videos to your public school kids.
Yes, play Vice Rhino videos. Look, if PragerU can get played in Florida schools, then Vice Rhino videos should be able to be played in Georgia schools. Only fair.
Why you got to remind me of that?
From a, hey, God knows best. This is how to create a good. Not only is it true, but it also, because it's true, it works and it creates a better society with individual responsibility, family
Does
responsibility.
it work? There's no rule against raping. How do you create a better society without do not rape? Do not own people as property. Like the 10 Commandments, the thing that they say is the moral law that all other laws are based on does not outlaw rape. And
even if you go into like all 600 Mosaic, even if you go into like all 600 Mosaic laws, you still don't find no rape. You find marry your rapist.
Yeah, there are laws about rape, but it's not that rape is illegal. It's that you can only rape a non-betrothed virgin, and then you have to you have a you break it, you bought it situation there.
Yep.
Which is gross, for the record, in case anyone wasn't clear on my
in case you needed to know.
Brain Cramp, thank you, Brain Cramp, for $5. Writes, I wouldn't say I'm the most moral. I haven't met everyone, so there could be someone more moral. Well, that's the kind of I don't know that we appreciate, that we atheists are willing to admit.
This is the circle of all possible things that you could know, and this dot is what you do know.
These are all the people in the world, and yeah, I'm this moral, but yeah, it's good. It's good. Eddie Dean, for $5, writes, Paul, how can Wendell know what you're going to say and still believe what he believes? Well, he insists that he knows. This is the thing, Eddie. Wendell knows that the script, I'm writing things in my script that I don't actually believe, because they actually do believe in God. So my scripts would be more accurate to my secret inner thoughts that I'm not aware of if Wendell would write them. That was kind of what I was getting to.
Oh, Shannon, I remember that. Shannon, once had an apologist tell me live on air.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Yes.
I remember that.
That was a real thing that happened.
Yeah.
Oh, fuck. That's gross.
And didn't back down from it, just owned that.
And this is why, to agree with Wendell earlier, we think they're not good people. Because atheists generally aren't the ones defending slavery and rape and stuff. If you go to the alt-right atheists, there you can find some of them defending rape, but that's a whole other can of worms.
It was Shannon Q versus G-Man. It is on her channel. If once this is eventually
G-Man makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Who would do that as soon as G-Man? Like,
we are coming up, guys. We keep plowing through for a while, or are we wrapping up at the top of the hour? What would you like to do?
A little bit longer.
Okay,
I'm good with longer.
All right, because we've made it, roughly a third through the video, which is pretty good for us.
Church responsibility and then civil government responsibility. It's got all of it laid out there, and they want to undo a whole lot of it and really, I guess, try to focus on government. But
the government's responsibility that's laid out in the Bible is monarchies, is it not? I mean, like the book of Judges could be argued that they'd rather have like a judge ruling over than a monarch. But like, I don't feel like that was a democratically elected judge. I feel like that was effectively a monarch, even if it was just called a judge.
Yeah, no, there's no Bible verses advocating, for one voice, one vote kind of a situation. No.
Yeah, so like, if we're going to use the Bible to set up a government, we're going to end up with a theocracy. And that's not what anyone should want.
No.
But it might be what they would want. If it was the right king, they would happily have a king.
Because it is true. It's from God.
Yeah. Jesus said you can't serve two masters. And the government knows that as well. You can't serve God and the government. So they want,
Okay.
But
Nobody can ever work 2 jobs. Nobody can ever work 2 jobs.
yeah, and well, I mean, this again, it's
Well,
using
the verse
slavery.
goes on to say they will love one and despise the other. So, it's not saying that they can't work 2 jobs. It's just that they can't enjoy 2 jobs.
Man, I can't enjoy one
I
job.
mean, to be fair, I accidentally quit my restaurant job when YouTube got good enough. Like I didn't like accidentally quit, but it was just like
Right.
every time the shift would like every time it was not busy and they'd be like, who wants to go home? Be like, me. That'll be me. Send me.
Yeah.
So yeah, I can kind of see it like if you're passionate about one but not so much the other, then the other is going to suffer for it. But again, like keep in mind this is using slave language. Like it's serving masters. It's not
Yeah.
like
And his point seems to be because you can't love God and the government, so we should merge the two.
well, I mean, also, yeah.
If we
Yeah,
merge
that
the
doesn't make any
two,
sense.
then we'll all be fine.
But then there's also that verse, and I think it's Romans that it like explicitly tells you to obey the government authorities because they have been instituted by God. So, like,
especially the Catholic ones.
yeah, but like according to the Bible, Joe Biden was appointed by God to be the president of the United States, so we should obey him. Like,
Right, and you're supposed to pray for your leaders and all those kind of things. Like, yeah, like, the Bible does. Basically, the New Testament seems to say just accept your plight, whatever your governmental plight is.
the New Testament, yeah,
that was
very
because
much,
they're apocalyptic and they thought that they thought Jesus was coming back in a generation or two. So
why bother trying to affect the government?
Why bother? Yeah.
But also there is an aspect of like they might not have been persecuted empire wide, but they were certainly frowned upon in a number of areas. So like you have to take it like Romans was written to a church in Rome, the ones that were arguably in the most danger from like official persecution. So to write a letter to this church that is in political danger saying, yeah, no, obey the government. That now gives them a document they can hold up and be like, no, see, look, this is one of our leader guys is telling us
Bible says to do
we
it.
need to be good and obedient to you. So like, we're not uppity. We're not going to start revolutions.
Of course, our holy book says we wouldn't. Why would we ever do that?
Eddie Dean follows up with $5 super chat. Thank you, Paul, because we all secretly believe that Jesus is our Lord and Savior, right? Exactly.
It's written on our hearts.
Their book says that that's what we think. So therefore, I've seen Christians really struggle with this, but they eventually land to it. Yeah, well, it's my book versus you knowing your own thoughts, and I got to go with the book. Bananas. Danny Smith, thank you, writes 1/3. That's further than you make it through videos on Toast to Toast. That is true. That is very true. But we start with 3-hour videos sometimes there, so we're not,
Suris and I are not good at keeping on topic.
No,
and that's sort of the fun of my channel as well. I think that's the live stream thing is for me at least, the video I'm responding to is kind of the framework under which we will have weird conversations.
They want our allegiance. They don't want our allegiance to be to God.
But we go to this next post that I have opened here. I reject Darwinian evolution. Do you?
How's that even related? Like
Eric,
he made it sound like that was a transition. Like, oh, speaking of that,
I think Eric got bored of what Wendell was saying and moved on. That's what it sounded like to me.
Well, okay, this was a live stream, right?
Yeah.
Does Eric monitor the chat in his live streams? Does he have someone that does the behind the scenes work for him, or is he doing everything on his own?
He monitors the chat of the people who pay to be there. So he doesn't monitor the.
Does he also do like the stream decky stuff of like changing scenes and?
No, he has someone do that.
Okay, because I was going to say there are times in tweets where you can see both Suris and I do this. Is that one of us will be talking and then the other will clearly have not heard what the last one just said. And
Okay.
so like respond in a way that doesn't really make sense. But usually that's because like we're busy doing other
We're looking at the
stream-related
chat
stuff.
and trying to
Right.
figure out what else we're having to do.
Yeah. And
Right,
like
right.
there have been times when I've been editing the clips for those videos where I've gone back and been like, oh, I wish I'd have laughed at that joke, Suris. That was really funny. But I didn't even notice you told it. So like I thought maybe something like that was happening, but if he's got someone else doing that, then yeah, I guess he just got bored.
Yeah. Jester, Lord of Fools, for $2 writes, it also seems to think that trees are evil. Yeah, well, you got to curse them if they don't produce figs in season, for sure.
Yeah.
No, out of season.
Fuck this tree.
Out of season. Pardon me. Good correction.
I mean, that's one of those instances where you can actually see that Matthew didn't really understand what Mark was getting at when he was copying it. It was like
Right.
Mark had that set up as a literary device, and then Matthew was just like, "No, he cursed a tree, so I'm going to write down that he cursed a tree. But why have him go back to town or whatever in between cursing the tree and giving a sermon? I'm just going to have him give a sermon right there." It's like, no, he was trying to bookend it.
What's going on in your mind when you post something like that?
All right, I'm gonna let you in a little secret here. This is called a call to action, and
No,
those are
it's called engagement farming.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
rage bait. It's rage bait.
internet world or the advertising world, they understand what that means. Call to action means you're wanting people to respond.
Yeah.
And so Darwinian
Engagement farming.
evolution, which I reject that for several different reasons, is a topic that I believe today needs to be discussed.
Evolution will be devastated to hear this, Wendell.
Is evolution even like the modern form of evolution? Is it even really properly called Darwinian evolution anymore?
No.
No.
It's like Darwin was
No.
wrong about a lot. Like he was very correct about things that he had no business being correct about. Like he guessed correctly on a lot of things, but he was also very, very wrong about things like the mechanism for inheriting traits.
Well, no theory of evolution now can ignore genetics, and Darwin had no access to the concept of genetics. So,
When Darwin was writing his book, the cell was thought to be just a gelatinous blob.
right. So
like he had no concept of genetics. Although he was working at the same time as Mendel, so if he had actually been aware of Mendel's work, he could have made significantly more progress than he did. Unfortunately, they both seem to have kind of passed each other like ships in the night.
that was Satan not coordinating his attack well enough, I guess.
I guess.
Rosina Keller writes, I reject Darwinian evolution because it didn't include Mendelian inheritance. Oh, well, speak of what we were...
That's what made me think of it.
Yeah, okay. There you go. Well said, Rosina.
More and more because there are some major flaws in Darwinian evolution. Now, of course, out of Darwinian evolution has become this whole current understanding of evolution itself, and it's gone from so much more than just biology. It is now within every other discipline within academia. They all take themselves back.
No. When no, like when we talk about the evolution of literature, we are not talking about some kind of replication with mutations. And it hasn't. No, I don't. That just.
Do you expect Wendell to have read the literature?
I mean, there's something to that because I mean, 50 Shades of Grey is just a mutated version of Twilight.
I want to die infinitely more now. It's not that I didn't know that information. It's that I didn't want to remember that information.
Yeah. Basically, Wendell's like, your evolution's getting into all my stuff. Like all my other sciences are getting icky because of just
your evolution's getting into my geology. You got geology in my evolution.
Back to evolution. So what I want them to ask, what I'm trying to get people to ask themselves is, what if evolution is false? That would not just undermine.
Scientists have been asking that for a long time. That's what peer review is for.
If evolution is false, the Earth is still significantly older than 6,000 years. Like that's indisputable.
Also, you would need to tell me the sentence would need to be far more precise than that. Like, is common descent false?
Yeah.
Or is mutation false? Like, what? Right at this point, it's a family of theories. It's a family of observations. It's not like one thing.
Fennec in my chat is being like, "Sir, please keep your limbs on this plane of existence." And I don't know if he's referring to me or Wendell.
Oh yeah,
Either one.
his right side was disappearing.
It does, and he's clearly got a green screen. It's driving me
use
bananas
the
even again.
Screen.
I should have put a green screen behind me.
Then you wouldn't have had the weird ghost effect.
Yeah, no. I mean to put it behind me and then not use it.
Oh, just not use it.
I tried to match him, but I failed.
Yeah. Oh well. Rosina writes again. Thank you. I heard Wendell is a secret atheist that mocks Christianity by making the stupidest arguments.
You probably heard that from me.
And that's what, up until tonight, you suspected he may well be.
That was my theory.
Although, did anything you've seen so far disprove that?
Not really. He could just be good enough at it to trick Eric Hovind, which admittedly I don't think would take a whole lot.
It's not the hardest thing in the world to do.
Eric so badly wants for people to be on his side that.
But that would undermine pretty much every other field of academia today, because so many base their own discipline off the idea of evolution.
That's a good tweet right there, Wendell. I mean, the idea
it would undermine like how we develop vaccines, however that like works when you do it. So,
and then awkwardly, vaccines work. So, yeah.
But also, probably my favorite thing about this is like the whole like evolution doesn't really have any bearing on the age of the Earth or universe. It's very specific to biology. Yes, it is very widespread throughout biology, and yes, it works very well with geology. But you see a lot of creationists that will pull out Charles Lyell and demonize him for saying that, like, oh, he's the guy that invented uniformitarianism and the idea that the Earth goes back billions of years, if not. I think he was actually advocating for an infinitely old Earth, that the rock cycle just continually regenerated everything. But the funny thing is, in the very book where he proposes uniformitarianism, in one of the editions, he also added in a chapter where he's like, oh yeah, and this also works with Noah's flood if it was a very gentle flood that didn't leave any geologic record. And we see evidence of that in the Bible because a tree survived the flood. How would a tree survive a catastrophic flood? Obviously, the flood was gentle enough that a tree survived. So maybe it was gentle enough that it didn't leave a sign in the geologic record. So like the guy that they demonize for, trying to discredit the Bible, I don't know if he actually believed in the flood or if he was just trying to appease people who did.
Right. But he was willing to harmonize.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If evolution is false, what would have to change in your thinking? Like, wow, that's a big question. Well, you got
not the biggest question in the world.
No,
not really.
It would be a big, I don't know.
So the funny thing is the question's even a little malformed, because it'd be more accurate to say if evolution as you understand it was false. But evolution as we understand it has been shown to be false multiple times in full accuracy. And then we got a little more accurate with it every single time, which is, how science works in general.
Yeah, well, if evolution was proven false right now, I would still not go back to Christianity, because Christianity, in my mind, has also been proven false.
Right.
Yeah, Christianity doesn't get more accurate. It's just because the evolution.
Yeah, it's not a question of Christianity versus evolution. It's a question of Christianity don't work, evolution does. So that's the one I believe in.
It's the classic young Earth notion that if they could disprove evolution, that it would be therefore Christianity is true. That they perceive it that way.
Got a response here. I was reading Baxter Stockboy. Okay, how do people come up with these names too? Is it just like, I don't like the name my mama gave me?
Baxter Stockboy? It's Baxter Stockman from the Ninja Turtles it's a play on words. What?
Yeah, how do people come up with these names? I
Yeah.
type Eric Hovind into an
Nice.
anagram generator.
How do people come up with these names?
How indeed.
Oh my god.
I find it interesting on the creative names here. Extra Stock Boy. So he says, why does this matter so much to you? Even the leaders of the church agree that Darwinists are correct about how life began. Why is this hill a hill to die on? So tell me what you think he's thinking to write that, and then let me get into your response to it.
Okay, so I believe
Just
he is
asking
thinking
for a straw man.
Just
Tell
can
me
you
what
just-
you think he's thinking.
That's right. Psychoanalyze this, please, before you.
that evolution is compatible with Christianity. And I think a lot of the churches are to blame for this because from the pulpit, we've told people that their ideas on Genesis really didn't matter. Didn't matter if they believed old earth, didn't matter if they believed young earth. The important thing is the gospel, right? So if you believe that God utilized evolution as a mechanism to create the world that we live in, then so be it. If you believed he just simply spoke it into existence, it really doesn't matter. We're created and we are here today. Does that make sense?
It does. And then what are you thinking for a response here? Obviously, you respond. Darwinian evolution proposes that human beings are the result of changes in species over time. This means death existed before the first human. The issue is, Scripture teaches that death entered the world through sin by way of Adam, which, by the way, that is it. You're hitting the nail on the head there. That is the big deal. Anyway, so I can click that and go into what you say here. So you're genuinely trying to help him understand that Christianity that is consistent with biblical teaching would not hold to Darwinian evolution. Put it that way.
And
I mean, yeah, that's the problem.
yeah,
That's not an argument in his favor.
That's creating a bigger barrier to entry to someone who knows that evolution happened.
Like,
And
then-
he doesn't seem to. He doesn't seem to. I've asked Eric this very question: is like, why do you think? Do you think that it's based on evidence that all these people want to adopt theistic evolution? Like, or like, what is the motive of someone who wants to adopt theistic evolution? Because they obviously think it's correct for some reason,
it
and it's
tends,
not.
Like, I know when it happened to me when I was in high school, because in PCA we were told we were non-denominational in PCA, but like then I found out later that PCA was founded by a Seventh-day Adventist and an old IFB pastor. So non-denominational really just meant Southern Baptist, all things considered. But because I was told we were non-denominational, I took that to mean that there were a lot of flavors of Christian and they were all correct on certain things. So when I got to high school, my science teacher was Catholic, and I either had never been told or simply didn't pay attention to that Catholic was the wrong kind of Christian. It was just a different kind of Christian. And when I found out that my Catholic teacher believed in evolution, that was one of those first pegs that moved for me, because I went, wait, you're a Christian in my book, you're an authority figure, which I've been told to pay attention to, and you believe this thing I've been told is wrong. Well, you're the authority figure. You know more than me. Let me listen to you further and see what happened. And it was
that thing that Wendell said earlier in the video.
Yeah, it's weird how that works. Weird. It's almost you can convince people more when you convince them first that you're part of their group. Strange how that works. Human psychology is a bitch.
Yeah, I agree.
So if evolution is true, the doctrine of original sin isn't true, which means the entire gospel narrative unveils. I hope that helps you understand. And then, of course, it goes on. How important is it for Christians to just like or comment up the good and down the bad?
How important is it for Christians to like or comment? What kind of cyclical? What is he doing? God won't give you enough crowns in heaven if you don't like my post. My children will like the post. The devil's children will not.
Yeah, there's the whole section of the Bible where it's, those who prayed in public received their reward in full.
Yep. God, I was literally told in church that every person we got saved would give us an extra crown, like a fucking collectible when we got to heaven.
Yeah.
The 11th commandment is thou shalt like and subscribe.
Well,
is that from the first or the second set of tablets?
Yeah.
I'm gonna say second because that's the version that actually like got called the 10 Commandments by the text and went into the Ark of the Covenant.
All right, you shouldn't boil your posters post.
Also, there's a bunch of feasts that you have to keep.
If I'm not supposed to covet,
Well, that's
then
not
what
in
is
the
the
Exodus
po-
34 ones. You're allowed to covet.
what is the point of crowns in heaven if not to make the other people
Covet the
notice that you're better
crowns?
than they are?
Look,
Right?
the more I reflect on the way heaven was described to me, the more the Has Been Hotel version of heaven makes perfect fucking sense, including Adam being a genocidal maniac.
No spoilers. I'm only on episode 2.
The Adam being a genocidal maniac.
No, I
episode
know that.
1.
I thought that was hilarious when it turned out to be Adam.
Look, he's the original dick. You don't understand.
Yeah,
All dicks
get
descend
it.
from him.
I get it.
Wait, what am I watching? What am I missing? What
This is Has Been Hotel. It's on Amazon Prime.
Okay.
It's a cartoon musical in the style of like 90s Disney cartoons, but it's about Satan's daughter trying to start a hotel in hell that will reform damned souls and get them into heaven.
Well, this
It
sounds
is-
like something I should watch.
It's
great.
amazing. It is very, very funny, and the songs have been stuck in my head for a while now.
I wonder if 1 Million Moms has started a petition against it yet.
I know Tim Pool got angry at it.
And yet, no, they're very much still concentrating on the fact that
They do.
someone wore trans socks on Paw Patrol.
Oh,
Urge Amazon Prime to cancel the demonic series Has Been Hotel immediately.
I love how the chat is now erupting in, oh my god, Paul's been made aware of Has Been Hotel.
This is great news. I've been looking for something new to watch. I'm excited.
Do yourself
they
a
actually
favor.
they have 23,605 signatures on that petition.
Oh, they
So-
almost have 1 million, right?
No, they almost have 10% of 1 million.
Do
Mhm.
you-
They almost have 25% of 10% of 1 million.
they need to get to a power of before they're really close. Do yourself a favor, Paul. The pilot episode is on YouTube, and the pilot episode is canonically episode 0 of Has Been. So if you're starting the show,
So what's on Amazon Prime is not that.
so it is.
Okay.
So what happened is Vivzy made the pilot episode with a different cast. When Amazon got the rights to the show and put the show on Amazon Prime, they did not put the pilot on Amazon Prime because they don't have the rights to the pilot. They don't have.
Gotcha. Okay.
They censored on the 1 Million Moms website, they censored the word sexual when they're saying it uses vulgar sexual references. It's S*XUAL.
I wonder what that word might mean.
Come the fuck on.
Savage geological species concept Cobra writes, and he will separate people one from another as a shepherd separates the sheep from the goats and the likes from the dislikes.
He will not divide us.
important is that?
Oh, very important, because in social media,
I hope that when on Judgment Day, God does what YouTube does, and he doesn't actually put up the number for the dislikes. It's just, okay, well, there's some dislikes. You can get the number of your thumbs up, but I don't need the sin counter.
It's hard
to be live.
It's hard for creators to find that too. Like when I ran my little experiment on getting people to dislike one of my videos on the watering hole, I had to go through like 5 pages of analytics before I finally got to see how many people disliked it.
Weird.
Speaking of which, if you're watching this on a channel that isn't the watering hole, the tweet interaction that is happening with the good 2 people on this stream right now, that normally happens on watering hole. So you should go find that channel and subscribe.
Well, on watering hole and Suris Live and twitch.tv/NecoSuris and twitch.tv/Vice Rhino.
There you go.
Lots of ways to watch us.
There's lots of places, all live, all at the same time.
you take
all
time
forget to link
to
to all of them.
respond, to like, to comment on certain posts, it actually helps the algorithm, and it will distribute that post to a wider and wider audience. So just don't scroll by it. If you like it, just take a few seconds, like it, and repost it or
he
reshare it.
already understands how engagement works. Then why does he think he was shadow banned? He understands.
He wasn't getting engagement.
He understands that getting engagement directly leads to his stuff being put in front of more faces. Did he ever wonder if maybe he's just boring? Did that ever cross his mind?
Yeah, okay, Suris, you can say a lot of things about Wendell. Boring is not one of those.
You know, you're right, but not for the reasons that you should be.
No, I know.
I'm always wondering what the psychology is there. How many? I want to ask you who you follow, why you follow them, where you get your content, where you get your answers. By the way, social media, since hopefully they didn't kick you off yet, couple of great resources for you that I love. We built a website called searchcreation.org.
Oh,
Searchcreation.org.
I use that regularly when I want to say like, oh, creationists say so and so. I like to actually be able to back that up with them actually saying it. And that's what I use searchcreation.org for. So thank you, Eric, for putting together a tool that helps me dismantle creationism.
Well, let's let him describe it and then we'll mock it together.
It indexes the top 43 websites on apologetics. So you could easily go on any social media platform, find what somebody is saying. Oh, I believe dinosaurs lived millions of years ago. Go to searchcreation.org. Did dinosaurs live millions of years ago? Or dinosaurs millions of years? Search. And you'll get tons of articles that if you just took the time to right-click, copy the link, paste the link on that social media site in the comments.
And
actually,
then people will laugh at you.
So yeah, I guess he's not really going to describe it. So I mean, he kind of did. So it's basically just an index of 43 websites that agree with him. That he wants. So this is Eric completely being in the camp when we were talking before about should you let people onto Twitter, like should you expose people to the actual secular arguments? This is an entire website designed to prevent people from learning the actual answers.
Mm-hmm.
Check this out. Paste. Boom. You just had a voice in the what are we calling it? The what did you call Twitter? It is the town square.
Virtual conscience. Yeah, town square, virtual conscience.
Wait, he's saying Twitter is the virtual conscience?
Oh my god.
What? That is all kinds of fucked up.
We've had some super chats. Peyton Dooley writes, you cast the crowns of Jesus' feet. Revelation 4. So this is like a hat trick in hockey. So you are supplied crowns to throw. This is like
so we're playing cornhole with Jesus's feet.
You were given stuff.
Oh my god, yes.
Oh, I want to throw a sandbag in his nail holes now.
Revelation 4, 10 to 11. You earn swag, but you have to give it to the boss. That's funny.
So hold on. Do the crowns have little pointy things on them at the end? Like, are they proper crowns? Because if so,
I assume so.
If you throw them right, you can get the pointy things to stick in his holes. We can nail Christ again.
I like Shannon's post in the chat. Says once the stream is done, I'm going to go ask why people get erections when they don't want them if the Bible is true. It's like, yeah, made for some very awkward class presentations.
That's
like,
just
I don't want that right now. Why is it there?
That's just God sending you an angel. He's just sending you an angel to give you confidence. That's all it is.
There's we know from pro-life, literature that there's no unwanted erections.
Anyone who wrote that was never a teenage boy.
Jester, Lord of Fools, writes, true believers watch everywhere all at once. True believers of the presumably of the tweet.
I mean, I had to stop doing that because I had I had the back end of my streams open on 2 locations, and my internet started stuttering, which shouldn't happen, but
oh no,
what are you going to do?
Whatever have you.
You're raising the level of the number of people out there that believe the truth, and that is so necessary. Because I just wish you guys could stay on here. I got to let you go because the world understands this, and I think a lot of Christians
just so people are aware. So Eric, he puts the first half of his show on like Facebook and YouTube, and he thinks that is going to be so enticing that you'll want to pay to watch the second half.
I mean, to be fair, I did get you to
I pay.
push me a copy that you paid for of that
I'm
sixth
a
one.
You're a
Creation
certified
Today partner.
Eric Hovind fan.
I'm also subscribed to the Answers.tv streaming service.
Oh God, I think I want to subscribe to PureFlix just because of how
Oh.
much I love bad movies. Although YouTube has a lot of good bad movies too, like anything by Donald James Parker. It's very painful to watch, but like it's so beautiful at the same time.
You need to use one of your fancy VPNs that you have,
Surfshark.deal/Rhino.
and because there's a lot of PureFlix style movies if you watch Netflix on the American version. They have a
Amazon
lot
Prime has a lot too.
Yeah,
on American,
but on the Canadian versions, we don't get any of that.
Kind of pull back, like, okay, we got it, we're good. No, our voice has to be heard. And this is just a simple step of lifting up the Christian voice. When you look at the stats that show what percentage of people believe in God and the Bible, that is not represented on most of the social media platforms. And that needs to be. So we need you liking.
He thinks that the proportion of, like, there's any proportion on social media that's disparate than the actual population, because I don't see evidence of that.
Yeah. So Shannon in the chat is saying Assassin 33 AD is the best movie ever made, period. I had an email exchange with the director of that movie. Because that was one of the movies that back when I did the drunken movie nights on my streams, that was one of the movies we watched.
Right.
And I got DMCA'd for it.
You did.
And so like they gave, like, the DMCA came with his email address. So I was like, hey, do you mind releasing this claim? Because like I firmly believe that this falls under fair use. And like we actually emailed back and forth a couple times. I did end up just deleting it because he wasn't going to budge. And it's like, okay, whatever. It doesn't matter. But like, yeah, no, I actually, and apparently he did it as part of like a bunch of people like posted his video at the same time. I'm not sure I believe that, but like he was like, oh yeah, no, I don't know which one you are because I got a bunch that day. Like, I'm not sure I believe that, but okay, whatever. I'll just delete it. It's fine.
The smaller the movie, the more litigious they are on YouTube.
Yeah.
I have, even though I feel comfortable because I know lawyers at Disney, so I can, call them. Yeah, I can post Star Wars, I can post Disney, I can post Marvel, whatever. Warner Brothers, doesn't matter. But yeah, you post some weird, obscure Christian indie movie.
Yeah.
They are on you.
I might have recently done a video where normally I have my Rhino avatar in the background and their video small as it's playing. A couple weeks ago I did one where instead of my Rhino avatar, it's just the entire Steamboat Willie video.
That's perfect.
And the video I was responding to was about the same length as Steamboat Willie, so I got the whole thing in.
That's amazing. I love it. I've said it 3 times and Rosina Keller for $2. Today I learned Vice Rhino is a fan of Yui Bowl.
I'm not sure who Yui Bowl is.
Yeah, so none of us.
That's
a sports ball thing.
No. Ua Bowl.
No, what?
Ua Bowl, if memory serves, that's the person who was known for doing all of the video game movie adaptations like Alone in the Dark.
Is he the guy that did Assassin 33 AD?
I don't know. Hold on.
Like, just because I emailed him doesn't mean I remember his name.
Yeah, he is known to be one of the worst filmmakers of all time. And he is the one who he's the reason that we even have the standard of video game movies being awful, because he's the one that got Alone in the Dark. He's the one that got Blood Rain. He's the one that got Rampage. He got Postal. Like, so many different video game movie adaptations are Ua Bowl productions.
He produced a movie called Auschwitz in 2011.
Ouch.
I'm not sure I want to see that one.
Auschwitz.
Eddie Dean writes, Suris, it's nice to meet you. Jumped over from Paul's channel to sub and buy your love for $5.
Well, you have $5 worth of my love now.
Excellent.
Do we
Thank you,
measure that
Eddie.
in teaspoons, tablespoons?
Mm,
It is one tongue of love.
one second. All right, so we're at the bottom of the hour, still going, or we're wrapping up.
My voice is beginning to give out, and I just got over laryngitis, so I'd like it to not.
That's
Okay.
fair.
So you
All
guys
right.
are welcome to keep going, but I'm gonna have to.
No,
duck
I
out.
think
I
we
think that's a
were.
good. I think that's a good place.
Yeah, I think there's a good place to end it. So thank you so much, everyone, for watching. Again, let's Vice and Suris let people know where they can find you.
Links.vicerhino.com is where you find links to all my stuff. So I do Twitter, I do YouTube, I do Twitch, I do another YouTube. I have a whole list of research related to trans people and issues. So that's a handy thing to have. Where as long as Eric's talking about just copying and pasting links into arguments or whatever, research.vicerhino.com will take you to that list, and like pretty much anything that the transphobes will say, it's got research that counters it. And I'm always looking to grow the list, so every time I see something new, I add it to it. And it is by no means exhaustive.
I may have borrowed from it multiple times for
Yeah.
videos.
That's what it's there for.
All right, and Suris, where can people find you, including all your Magic the Gathering stuff?
So if you're looking for my skeptic, political, and atheist content, that's going to be over on just Suris, youtube.com/Suris. If you are looking for the Magic the Gathering stuff, that's over on Suris MTG. So same, just putting MTG in all caps at the end. You may get a few of my episodes where I talk about Marjorie Taylor Greene instead. That is because I did not anticipate making a Magic the Gathering channel, and I liked the confusion that happened with a lot of my viewers for the longest time, and now SEO is making me regret that decision. So, that's a problem. You can also find me on Twitter at Suraskeptic, and you can find me over on Twitch at Necosurus.
Awesome. And if you're learning of me for the first time, Apologia as written on screen, and I could have taken Eric off for this whole thing.
Danger Noodle Boop would like an ooh from Paul.
A woo, woo. I would like a what?
I want to drill out my brains. I want the gray matter to leak everywhere.
There we go.
All right. Thanks, everyone, for watching. This was fun. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining me, and
Thanks
we
for having
will see you in the future. Later.
Bye.